it's time to start.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
Bye-bye.
See you.
Giovanni, come back.
Yeah.
So, hello everybody. A very warm Midland Golden Retriever welcome to our tea time chat today. We've got two really exciting young handlers with us, Fanny and Giovanni, to talk to you about the art of training a Golden Retriever for the show ring. And I think this is something that all of us will be able to learn something from today. So welcome, Fanny, and welcome, Giovanni.
Hello.
Thank you so much. Hello.
Thank you.
Okay. Fanny, would you like to start by telling us your background in Golden Retrievers, how you started, and about the development of your kennel?
Sure. Well, first, thank you so much for inviting me. I feel greatly honored and excited to hopefully share some wisdom with everyone who's listening. Hopefully something that you can take with you. And I always say, you know, take everything that you like, leave the rest. This is sort of my idea of handling and Giovanna's idea of handling, and all the experiences and lessons that we've learned over the years. I've got a nice cup of tea. I've got pen and paper because I want to write down everything that Giovanni is saying that he hasn't told me before. So I suggest you do the same. But the Golden Retriever, well, the breed has sort of always been in my life, but I'm just as much in love with the breed now as I always was. I think what I appreciate most about the Golden is the beauty, of course, just watching them at home. The temperament, I love their ability to switch on when we're outside and when they're just the most fun companion. And to then switch off when we're inside and be the most loving, gentle, calm dog. And a Golden that just looks at you, sort of asking, you know, what can I do for you today? I think it's just the most generous thing.
That will to please, isn't it? It's a lovely will to please.
This is my lovely mother, Helena. So she had her first Golden in 1968. And I mean, how lucky am I to have had that opportunity to grow up with these wonderful dogs. And so our first dog together was a bitch called Friendship Matilda. She was out of Stanbury Lions. And I'm born 87, so the first litter that we had was born in 1994. And a daughter of Matilda was this girl here, Skilla. She was born 1997. Her name was Heatwave Mayflower. And she was sort of the first dog that was really my own. And that felt really special. She was a wonderful dog, a wonderful friend to grow up with. Incredibly intelligent. Always knew what you were feeling before you knew it yourself. Yeah, so that was the beginning. So I didn't really have much of a choice, I suppose, to what interests, what passion in my life, what it was going to be.
So your mum started you, and then the dog consolidated that, did she?
Yes, yeah, that's very true.
Yeah.
And so that's my mother again, and well, my biggest role model. I found I'm so grateful to be doing this together with someone. Always have someone to discuss with, always have someone to support you, just someone to bounce off ideas with and to comfort you, because it's a hard business, as we all know, to breed and to show dogs. It's not always
so easy, no.
Not always easy.
No.
A lot of heartbreaks along the way, as we all know.
Yeah.
And when I was very young, my mother showed our dogs, but she was also on the show committee for the famous Skogkloster show. So she would always bring me and my brother with her. I remember we played around the castle and the showground until I got a bit older and wanted to show the dogs myself. And I think eventually one thing led to another. I loved being in the ring, and when I got a bit better, I maybe won a class, and that really encouraged me to go on. I think I just got a feel for it, and the ball was sort of set in motion.
I think that's a lovely job.
My skinny little legs. And I started in junior handling, and that was a great way for me to enter this show world. And it was very fun. It was an easy start with lots of encouragement, even though the breed ring was always my main interest. The junior handling really did a lot of favors for me as a handler.
Yeah, it teaches you an awful lot, doesn't it, about actually the intricacies of showing a dog.
Yes, and it often put me in a situation where I had to take a dog that was completely unknown to me, maybe a new breed that I had never shown before, and I just had to do something with it like that, and that taught me a lot, I have to say. And this is me and my mum and our affix heatwave. Something else that I've inherited as my mother picked it out. And her name, Helena Hellström, is sort of an acronym with a double H. So she wanted something starting with that letter. Let's see if we move on with the pictures. So my foundation, we have, I think, as many other breeders, we've experienced and tried different bloodlines and failed and had to start over for different reasons. And a lot changed when this bitch came into our lives. This is Jumist Serendipity, and she came to us from Henrik Frickstrand. And she's now behind many of my current dogs that I have at home. And she turned out to produce so much of what I like. So she was an important bitch for us. And we have a fifth generation now.
Yeah.
That was very important.
Yeah, I think we had the same. I had a bitch that went back on the Lindy's lines, and then I had one from Yeo. Then I had another dog who was a consolidator, came down from a consolidated daughter. And we had various different problems with all of those. The first bitch had a breeder's letter for her hips, clear eyes, and was infertile and had parameter after her second season. So the next one, we did breed from her, and she was very closely line bred and produced herself. But she wasn't a good example of a golden retriever. And then our third dog got killed. So a little bit like you, it wasn't until we had our style bitch that our kennel took off. And as you say, people often do hit those problems. And so much about showing is about having that tenacity to continue. And unfortunately, in the show world, you're often not quite supported when things do go wrong. People are very quick to say, "Oh, have you seen?" Or talk about you and things. So you do need quite a lot of strength, I think, to continue.
Oh, absolutely. And as you learn more, you also sort of expect more, and you might higher your standards a bit. And I think if you're willing, there's so much good quality and good material out there if you're willing to approach the breeder that has it, the material that you like.
And there you are, springboarding with her. Yeah. Lovely.
I mean, apart from my mother, I formed an early friendship with a woman called Helene Strömbom, who had the stunning Ross mix golden retrievers in Sweden. And as a teenager, I got to know Henrik, and through him, I got to know Ulrika, who's in the picture. And these two people, they are sort of still my closest friends. And I was thinking about, you asked what my influences were, and some other things in my life that I want to mention are actually horses and dancing, because these two things, they really formed me as a young girl, and it's something that I still take with me when I'm handling dogs, because I think horses and dancing taught my eye to look for beauty, to look for lines, to look for movement, and both things also taught me a lot how to handle my body language, my coordination. And this was a fantastic complement in my, communication with dogs. And my father was an artist. My family is very artistic. And I think that's a good perspective when looking for beauty in dogs, if you know what I mean.
What kind of dancing did you do, Fanny?
Well, I started with ballet, moved on to more contemporary dancing.
Okay, so really disciplined. Yeah.
And I also want to mention all the lovely people who have participated in my courses over the years and my seminars both in Sweden, but also abroad, because it helped me a lot as a teacher, and it challenged me a lot. So for that, I'm very grateful.
Yeah. And I think, once you have done things like horse riding and things, you understand about the kinetics of how an animal moves, and, that's really, really important, because although dogs and horses move very differently, it's teaching your eye the whole visual thing, isn't it?
It is.
And you understand from sitting on a horse's back exactly the impact of where you might have short, choppy movement and things. You can feel that on a horse, can't you? And you understand that the negative points to maybe a dog if they are moving like that.
Absolutely. And I mean, with horses, look at the carriage, look at the strength, the agility. It definitely teaches you a lot. I think.
Definitely.
And this is my Jimmy's pitch once again, Donna. And we were talking about mentors before, and if there was someone who encouraged me in my early years. And Henrik really took me under his wings, and it opened a lot of doors for me. As I said, he gave me much better dogs and material to work with than I had before that. And I think he saw me as a young girl, sort of, just going to grab her and shape her into something good. And
he also is a teacher, wasn't he?
Yes,
and
yes, he was.
As a child, you appealed to something within his, within something as a teacher as well.
Yeah, that's very true. And apart from my mother, he's still the person that I discuss everything with. Matings, puppies, showing, judging. I know I can call him whenever I need someone to bounce idea with. And everything got better when he came into the pictures, the connections, adventures, feedback, critique, definitely. He's one who can really give me constructive criticism, which I really appreciate. He also encouraged me to work abroad, to go and see something else. And so through him, I got to work with Yvette Mannings of the Gatchel Goldens. Yvette was also a wonderful teacher, and I miss her a lot. And after England, I worked in Australia. And during that time, I also learned from the best, Ruth Thompson of the Chaleur Goldens. She was so generous and so patient with the young Fanny and her hundreds of questions. So that experience made me grow a lot. And
that sharing of knowledge is so valuable, isn't it? Because it takes such a long time to actually learn about dogs. And if somebody's able to be totally candid with you and share their knowledge, that springboards you, doesn't it? You're not having to learn everything yourself if you've got good friends and mentors that will share with you.
Absolutely. And also who can be a bit realistic and tell you sometimes the harsh truth. You need to hear that as well. And it's good to practice to get feedback and get critique. That's it. For me, that's the only thing that can make you grow and make you improve, make you better at what you're doing. So yeah, a couple of my mentors, Ruth on the left and me and Henrik on the right. So a few lovely memories.
Yeah. And how did Henrik take it when you beat him?
He's just he got used to it after a while. So had to.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Oh, very interesting. Yeah.
And with Henrik came not just a friendship with him, but a whole team around us. So just all of my friends in the same picture. And we really support each other. We encourage each other. Me and Ulrika mainly help the rest to handle their dogs. And yeah, it's a wonderful thing. It's very supportive to have the team around you. And I'm very grateful for it.
Yeah, it makes you stronger, doesn't it?
Really does.
Yeah. There's some more of your friends as well.
Yeah, one of my seminars in Norway, just me babbling on.
What were you babbling on about?
What can it have been this time? Coat care, maybe, grooming, something like that.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. Some more pictures of you down there. It's lovely. You're showing her very beautifully.
Thank you. Yeah, so that was sort of the start for me, in short.
Is this still your Jumis bitch then?
No, this is a different bitch. She came from Australian lines, put to a Swedish bitch, but this girl was co-owned by Henrik and a good friend of mine who lives just around the corner from me. So we sort of had her not in partnership, but I always handled her, and she was one of my. She made a strong impression because she was very special to me. She was very sensitive. She felt everything that I was feeling. She was quite moody sometimes. Never, grumpy or anything like that. She was just like very emotional, I should say. So it was always quite an experience to show her, but very stunning.
Yeah, very in tune with you, was she?
Very. Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you very much, Fanny, for our insight into your background and your experiences. And we move on now to Giovanni from Italy.
Hello.
Hi, welcome, and thank you so much for coming and speaking to us, Giovanni. I know you're very well known to a lot of the UK exhibitors, and like Fanny, to the wider Golden Retriever population. So we're really interested in hearing about your background and how you started.
First of all, thank you so much to you for your kind invitation. I'm so happy to share today with you all my story and my experience during these past years. And I think that the passion for breeding was in my DNA because my family father's side bred cattle since a lot of generations. So I grew up since a very little child in the farm, looking after the cows, the calves, the dogs, and lot of animals.
Yeah.
So the breeding also, if in different kind of animals, if quite similar. I remember judges who came to judge our cattle, and I remember choosing stud for the cows. So
yes,
it's quite similar.
Yeah.
And I had my first little dog when I was 5 years old at home, and he was a mixed dog. And unfortunately, after 5-6 years, he had an accident and he passed away. And I want desperately another dog, but my mother said, no, we suffered too much for the loss of our little dog.
Yeah.
And for the moment, I didn't want another dog at home. And I tried desperately writing letters and any way to have another dog, but she was so firm on it. So in summer 27, when I was 12 years old, in my little village up to the mountain, there was a newborn kennel called Della Val d'Aveto, and it hosted 2 litters from another kennel who lives down in the city, because it was a boiling summer, and this lady asked if they can looking after the litter. And as soon as I knows it, I went there and I asked if I can help. So I start as a little kennel boy. I love to looking after the puppies and the dogs. I bring them out for walking, and I spend my entire days like that. I have beautiful memories of it. Yeah.
And I think your mum must have realised that if she didn't let you bring a puppy
Absolutely.
home, she wouldn't see you
Yeah,
again.
and I slightly convinced her to have a dog, because sometimes I bring home their dogs. So day by day, she was less firm on it.
Yeah.
And I start going to the shows, showing their dogs, the Val d'Aveto dogs. And my passion grown so much. I remember spending a lot of my afternoon in my room looking at website, sometimes instead of the study. And I feel so much for this breed. I love their elegance. I love their way of doing. I love their temperament. And it was a new word for me.
Yeah.
So I start going to show the dogs. I met people, and I was so in about it. We at the Kennel della Val d'Aveto, we start using some pink early dog from Valentina Zanini, and she has been a big mentor to me, because we start speaking. I love speaking with her about dogs, and she teaches so much to me about pedigrees, about bloodline, how to show the dogs, and she opened the doors for me to England.
Yeah.
We drive up to England in the first time at Craft in 2012. Yes, we drive that together, and I show for the first time a dog at Craft in yearling class, and I got a 3rd place. That for me was absolutely amazing, because just walking on that green carpet for me was a dream came true.
Yeah.
And the year after, we drive again together in the summer at the Centenary Dog Show, and in that occasion, I have a big suitcase with me, because Valentina entrusted me to Heather, and I've spent the entire month of July with Heather, and Heather became not only a friend but a second mother for me. That she's in the picture together with my mom at my home 2 years ago. Yeah. So I found in Heather a fantastic person. Okay, and she helped me so much, and she teach me so much about breeding, about the bloodlines, about take care of the dogs, and I'll be forever grateful to her for the person I am today. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's somebody.
I never forget that summer.
Sharing that knowledge, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. At 18 years old, I've been involved completely in Kennel della Val d'Aveto. So it was also in my names together with the sister Massone. And 2 years later, I decided to take my own way with my own affix called Olvingley. In the word of Olvingley are included, it is a sort of anagram between my names and the name of Oliver. Okay, a dog I'll be forever thankful, because it's a very special dog for me, a very special show dog for me. It was the first dog that opened a lot of doors for me. So I absolutely wanted that all the puppies that born under my affix will have forever a little piece of him, at least in maybe not in the blood, but at least in their name. Yeah,
that's lovely.
Yes.
Oh, that's really lovely. But you had some success before, didn't you? Because you're here winning a junior youth.
Yeah, that was Oliver at the European dog show in 2013. He was the European junior winner. He won a huge junior class. It was an unforgettable day. Yeah. And I had third place at Craft in 2012, as I said before. I had third place in limit class at the Centenary, and that was Oliver in the pictures before. No, this was Craft. It was Craft in 2012, and down it was Oliver getting the best opposite sex at the club show during the World Dog Show in Milan in 2015. Yeah, it was the club show before the day before the World Dog Show. Yeah.
Fantastic achievement.
Here it was probably this was one of the biggest win, because it was the summer 2015, my first GRC championship show, and I drive up with Oliver and his half sister Belle, and Oliver ended up to be best in show, and Belle ended up to be best puppy in show, and it was amazing. Probably that day I didn't realize
what you would achieve,
how much it was, because for a young guy from Italy, being there together with all the best of the best, to me was absolutely something I will never ever forget.
Yeah, were you just in shock, do you think?
Yeah, just in shock, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
It was amazing. So I will be forever grateful to Valentina, that she's here in the picture with me, and most of all to Heather, because she really became a special person in my life. She's a second mom for me. Yeah.
And there's some lovely photos of you down here with your dogs.
Thank you. Yeah, she's bought the picture. She is Belle. We have a special feeling. So
yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? Because that's what Fanny was saying about her bitch. There's something.
Yeah, there are some dogs that you have. Well, we love them all, but honestly, there are something that are much more inside your heart, in my opinion.
They get under your skin somehow.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
They do.
Yeah.
They definitely do. Yeah. And
here's
some more pictures of you in England. Yeah.
Yes, Oliver got the first CC in July. Then I drive again in England in September. That time alone. I drive all the way alone, but I stayed there 1 week to Heather, because there were 2 shows. Easter Countries, Jersey, if I'm not wrong, and then Leeds. And Oliver got the reserve CC at the first show, and then he got the CC and the best of breed in Leeds. And that day he was also third in the group. Then I take my car, I remember, and it was a crazy trip, because the show finished around well, at least 5 in the afternoon, 4 or 5 in the afternoon. And I start driving down. It was Friday. I start driving down and I arrive in Calais. I'm claustrophobic, so you can imagine that for me, take the tunnel is quite difficult. But for my dog, I did it.
Yeah.
So
I hope you've got a good car driving all the way.
Exactly. So I was in the tunnel that night, and it was the period that there were a lot of migrants in Calais. So there were a lot of troubles with the train. And I arrived quite late in Dover, and I take the tunnel. We were in, and after 5-10 minutes that the train started, it was blocked. Train blocked, light down. And for a minute I said, oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, then some migrants came through the tunnel by foot, walking on it, and the train had to start. Otherwise would have been a tragedy. So we have been blocked inside of the tunnel for about 2 hours. And for me, it was absolutely a nightmare, but I fondly remember it. And I arrived in the morning finally in France. I sleep some hours in the car, and on the Saturday I drive all the way down to Italy, because on the Sunday morning there was a club show, the most important club show of the Italian Retrievers Club, and I arrived safely in Florence on the Saturday evening and Saturday night, and I was able to show in
your club show.
Yeah, the club show. Yeah, some crazy thing that probably I will not do again.
You're still young, Giovanni.
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
equally crazy things again.
Yeah, crazy thing.
Yeah. Oh.
And down it was a progeny from Pinkerley Never Say Never, a progeny class at the centenary, and here is Belle. Again, the day she get her title in Windsor. No, it was East of England under M. Archibald. Yeah. Another unforgettable day. I apologize for if my English is not so fluid, but I'm trying to do my best. I can't hear you, Fanny.
Penny, are you still there?
Can't hear you.
No, I can't hear her. That was so wonderful to hear, Giovanni, and the crazy trips you've done.
You. Yeah, the crazy trip and the block in the tunnel. Never forget as well.
So I should be okay now. I'm back.
Okay, yeah, you are.
Yeah. That's a lovely photograph of you, Giovanni.
In our garden, it is with some of my champions. It was my tree foundation, Olvingley. She was the first on the left is champion Pinkerley Omnia Vincitamur, and she's the daughter of Oliver. And then there is a Secret to Tell della Val d'Aveto and Belle Primavera in Anticipo della Val d'Aveto. They are my three foundation when I start my way with Olvingley. Yeah, they are the three in the first one of the first pictures at the top of the mountain with the snow. Yeah.
Glorious view.
Yeah,
that's lovely. And here again, I think, are these the mountains in your home?
Yeah, they are the hills where we live. The hills where we live. Yeah.
So you've got wonderful opportunity to walk down the tracks
and
exercise your dogs.
It is, because we have a ring around a ring of 5 kilometers around our house, and we have not to keep the car, and it is at the top of the hills, So we have no big road again, so the dogs are very safe there, and they can run through deers, through rabbits, and have fun every single day, swimming, and yeah. We are lucky. We are lucky and feeling blessed for where we live.
Oh, well, Giovanni, thank you so much for that and sharing your background with Goldens, and an amazing beginning for you.
Thank you.
Come and do so well so early on, and but also then to go on and sustain that. You know, it's quite often easy to have beginner's luck, but it's to continue that.
Keep focused. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks.
And as we said with Fanny, you know, it's working through the good times and the difficult times, isn't it? You know, it's it isn't always easy, and I think people often see the nice things that happen to you, but they don't understand sometimes what's going on behind.
I agree.
Yeah. So let's move on. So Fanny, what's been your greatest achievement so far in Golden Retrievers?
Well, I was thinking about this question, and there are just so many answers. But related to showing dogs, for me, nothing has yet felt more overwhelming than winning the CCA Crafts with a dog that I really loved. And it was also a matter of doing it for my dearest friends, Paloma and Antonio, that are also in the picture. This was 2013 under Heather, that you mentioned before, Giovanni. Heather later became a dear friend of mine as well. And the dog Kyle, his name was Mad About You, the Riavela. He came to stay with me for 6 months or so before Crafts, because I wanted to use him at stud. And he just won everything. I mean, I didn't have to do so much. He was just so beautiful. So he won in Sweden and in Norway and Denmark. And in my mind, I returned him in December or January or something like that. And I was, dying to show him at Crafts, because I knew he was entered. But I didn't really feel that I could ask. And when I went to return him to Spain, we sort of took the dogs for a walk, and Paloma casually mentioned that they had entered 3 dogs in open and needed another handler, and asked if I could handle Kyle for them. And I was like, well, I'll think about it. I was just screaming on the inside.
Yeah, cool as a cucumber on the outside, but bubbling inside.
Yeah, and it was wonderful. And I think we just had the best time in the ring, because I knew, obviously, we wouldn't win. I mean, God, it was Crafts, and the competition in open dogs. It was just incredible.
Be in with 40 dogs, couldn't you, or more?
It was amazing, just amazing to watch. And so I wasn't nervous at all, no pressure, because I knew we were just, I hope we can put on a nice performance, but that's it. So I think because of that, it was just very overwhelming. And a wonderful,
you could only dream about, but you actualized it.
Absolute dream. Absolutely.
Oh, that's wonderful. And there's pictures here of you.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
With the dog.
Yeah, I remember being, placed in open dog. Kai was first, and I lost my breath, as you can do if you trip and fall. But I just completely lost my breath, and it's very, very emotional.
Yeah.
That was my first craft. I was there to see that day.
Oh wow, was it?
Yeah, it was my first craft.
Yeah. Oh,
wonderful.
Wonderful. So then, Giovanni, the same question to you, and you sent me so many pictures. So these are all your Crafts pictures that you sent to me, clearly from the green carpet. What's been your biggest achievements?
Well, the first biggest achievement was as I said before, was the best in show at the GRC in the summer of 2015. Then I had in Italy Santos Ferrari, that was in the pictures before. I had in Italy Santos Ferrari for 4 months. in 2015, and I made him up to an Italian champion. And Heather asked me to show him at Craft the year after under Hilary Lamsed, and he was entered in special working class, and he won the class. And I remember my mother and Heather my mother started packaging because she were with me that day, and Heather was close to her, and at a certain point she started screaming. She remember it. That was because Enzo won the ticket that day at Craft. Yeah, it was an amazing feeling. Oh. That green carpet make a special for me. Makes a special feeling. Something. Craft is craft.
Yeah.
And 3 years after, my Belle was qualified for Crafts, but I've mated also my Vogue in January, and the date she will have gave birth puppies was exactly the 7th of March. So as soon as I knew she were in whelp, I decided, no, I have to stay home with her, and I entrusted Belle to Kelly. We met to a club show in Germany in the middle of January, and Belle stayed with Kelly for a couple of months, and she groomed and prepared perfectly, and she drive Belle to England. And well,
yeah, there you are.
It was absolutely amazing. I would be forever grateful to my dear friend Kelly for what she did that day with Belle. In the pictures that we are there, Kelly's boyfriend Walter was phoning me with video calling all the time, and you can see Belle winning the class and me crying at the phone at home, yeah, because the puppy born at that morning. Well, it was amazing.
Yeah.
When I saw the catalog in the morning, I said, wow, it was a fantastic class. And when at the end of the day, she make it, well, to be over the moon is probably an understatement. Yeah. much more. And she ended the day being third in the Gando group.
Yeah, wow.
So
wow.
Kelly and Belle did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
And last Craft, with unfortunately the beginning of a very sad time, we drive up to England with Halo, my junior bitch, and with Oliver and with Dempsey. And Oliver was for the first time in veteran class, and he won it early in the morning, and he handed the day being reserve CC from veteran class. Yeah. So it was a special feeling show him again, because after the War Dog Show that he won in 2018, yes, yeah, that was another unbelievable day. Yeah. Totally unexpected. I didn't show him anymore, and I said, well, only at Craft when you will be in veteran, and he won the class, and it was reserve CC, so it was amazing. And that day, both Halo and his brother Taro, that is owned by Heather, both won the junior and the yearling class. So I was particularly proud.
Good family
to having won, yeah, such a lovely junior classes with brother and sister from the same litter.
Yeah. That, of course, was right at the beginning of the pandemic, and obviously we've not had dog shows really in the UK since, and obviously they cancelled Crufts this year, which is
same here.
Is a shame, you know. But yeah, wonderful achievements, and
here was Dempsey. Dempsey is my soul. As we say before, there are some dogs that you are on your skin or on your heart, and he's one of those. And it came from a combination, one of my first combination at Holdingley, and I had the semen from Henrik Frickson, another person that I will be forever thankful for all the help he gave me always. And with the Chilled Seaman, I had 4 puppies, and I kept boy and girls, and Dempsey is one of those, and he's a fantastic dog. He's a clown. So when you are at the show with him, you just have fun. He's a funny dog. And that day he ended to be 3rd. He won the best of breed, he won the group, and he was 3rd best in show all breed. Yeah, and he was quite young. He was 2 years and a half.
Mm-hmm.
In
amazing
that
achievement. Yeah. Amazing achievement. And I think this is the last one for you.
It was, yes, a club show in Switzerland. Another very successful day. I had 4 of mine. They were mother and son on my right. Glenn, Olvin Glade, The Power of Love, owned by Peter Rohrbach, who was best of breed, and his mother, A Secret to Tell, who won the open class, and Pinkerley Omnia Vincit Amor, who was best bitch, and Mike Santos bitch, who was first in intermediate. So a very successful day under Rita Lehtonen.
Wonderful.
Yes, beautiful memories and lovely to see all of them.
Yeah. So Giovanni, do you have any other interest in any other breeds? Do you show or handle any other breeds?
No, I didn't. No. I'm very friend with a famous Labrador kennel breeder, here in Italy. So sometimes I help him if he needs during Challenger or something.
Yes.
So I like it, but not so in Golden. No.
No. Well, thank you very much, Giovanni. Fanny, you do have some interest in some other breeds, both owning and exhibiting for other people.
Absolutely. I mean, first, I just love watching and learning more about all breeds, basically. And I have a particular interest in a few. And during my junior handling years, as I said before, I showed numerous of other breeds, which taught me a lot. But now I mostly show my little long-haired miniature Dachshunds that we also breed. I show sometimes American Akitas for a friend, something very different than a Golden Retriever. It's a very powerful dog, very big, powerful thing to have in your hands, but stunning dogs for sure. Yeah, over the years, this one from this lovely English Alaskan Malamute that came to Sweden for a while with a friend of mine. But if we start talking more about handling, I would encourage anyone to go and watch other breeds, yes. Not just Golden Retrievers, but look around, see what's happening in the rings around you, because I think you learn so much, and it broadens your perspective on quality, on movement, on type, on proportions, size, everything. And if you have an opportunity to judge, even if it's just an open show, I would take that chance, even if it's scary the first few times. And especially if you're younger and coming into the world of showing dogs, but I would just dive straight in. And something else is to stay and watch finals. Well, first of all, watch our breed till the end, even if you're showing a junior. And maybe you're placed in the class and you have nothing more to do, you don't just leave, you stay and watch the whole thing till the end, and stay and watch the finals, learn from everything that's happening there. There you see the sort of the top quality from every breed. So I would definitely recommend that.
And I absolutely think, Fanny, that watching other breeds helps you to really understanding the difference between breeds, helps you understand about type and actually about your own breed that you're about Golden Retrievers, studying the heads of all the different retrievers, it makes you understand what the true essence of the Golden Retriever is, just by seeing that. every breed moves differently and has its own specific, you know, qualities. But as you say, understanding about those qualities is so very important in your journey to learning about dogs more widely. Yeah.
Also reading out the breed standards is a very, very good thing to do. Sometimes very surprising. Sometimes, I mean, the Golden Retriever standard is often described as very open, open for interpretations, and it is. Some breed standards are very specific. Some you measure things, you count teeth, you count everything, especially like with German breeds, for example. So that's something I really love to do.
Thank you. So when do you start training a puppy, Fanny?
Well, I actually think it starts when you first start to train your puppies at home, on the table, on the floor. Start with that first eye contact, get the puppy to walk next to you. Putting the puppy on the table, that's where I want to start establishing our connection. And most of all, I want them to have an enjoyable moment on the table. They are, you know, allowed to be a bit cheeky, not too serious, because that's the experience, that's where it starts, and that's what I want to bring into the show ring eventually one day. Fingers crossed if the puppy turns out and everything. But it really starts there. No pressure, never saying no, not too serious. Just a lot of love, a lot of praise, a lot of treats, and a wagging tail. That's what I'm looking for.
And do you think that how old's the puppy in the picture here? Is it about 8-10 weeks, something like that? Do you start?
That one, yeah, something like that, 9 and 10 weeks. The next one's maybe 12, 13, 14 weeks, something like that. Yeah. So we just do a lot of fun things together, just establishing our relationship and our connection. Start to communicate with the puppy what you want and reward the good behavior. How I want to think about it.
Yeah, I certainly think that there's been some huge changes and advancements in dog training with the positive reward. And here you are in the middle with a puppy not on a lead, you know, training them in that kind of really fun way. And I think that's really crucial to some of the things I'm sure you're going to talk about later on, you know, about keeping your dog fresh and enjoying it.
Yeah, and starting slow. I mean, a Golden Retriever, that is so easy to teach, so easy to train. So, as we said, willing to please. They're going to eventually learn to stand still. That's nothing you have to start with at once. There's no stress or anything like that. So, in the beginning, it's just fun. Yeah, for me.
Absolutely. And Giovanni, when do you start? Yeah.
I agree with you. It must be a game, a play at the beginning. I start normally to put my puppies on the table at 7 weeks to look at the litters, and then the puppy I keep home. I do it quite often on the table, and then in the garden. It has to be a game. Or maybe also when we are during our walk, sometime I stop, I take a biscuit or a treat, and I stand them during they are doing something they love. So they are used to let touch the tail and think that they can do it in every moment. Yeah. Also in the moment they in the thing they love to do. That much. Yes, but it has to be a big play. Fun, just fun. I didn't want to put pressure. I didn't want to show so much my juniors. I want they have a first experience, but then I didn't bring them out that much from 6 to 12 months, because it has to be something that they looking forward to do, and not something that happen every single week. So
yeah, but I do exactly what you do. I don't do any formal training with them.
No.
may stop on a walk and do a stand, or, you know, if you have a treat somewhere in the garden or playing with a toy with them, just stop and here you go, stand, you know, and teach them, you know, the different kind of commands within the concept of what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, you know.
Yes, and also if you are around for a walk in the city or in the village, ask people to touch them. It is very important to me. So sometimes I feel silly, but maybe I stand the puppy and I ask someone that I know if he can touch the teeth or he can touch the dog, but not in a formal way. But during we did something we did every day. Okay, something normal for them. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess kind of as a judge, I don't expect puppies at all. In fact, I never expect a dog to stand like a statue. I much prefer to see them animated and take those steps a little bit further, that, you know, yes, you know where you need to put your feet when you're standing, but to actually encourage that personality to shine through. I definitely remember one time judging probably the best golden retriever I have ever had my hands on, but she was so flat and dull and miserable that actually I didn't reward her for her physical attributes, because she absolutely did nothing for what I see as the very important bit of the golden retriever, and that's their temperament and personality.
So much.
So
it makes the difference.
Yeah. And so you would then continue that. Do you have ring craft classes in Italy?
No, unfortunately, we have not it. No, sometimes we met between friends, maybe on a Sunday if we have a lunch together, and we can have a bit of training. But we have not ring craft. I remember the first summer I was in England. I was very surprised about it because it looks like a show. Yeah, a little show, but in Italy we never experienced it.
No. It ring craft can be really beneficial, but you do see people that pitch up there and their dog's got to stand and they do it every week, and it sort of and then when they do get out in the ring with the dog goes, whew, you know.
Yes, exactly.
They're fed up. So you know, so it sounds as if you continue to train, but in quite an informal way. Is that right?
Yeah, it's help ring craft. I think help also to meet dog of a different breed, of a different color, because sometimes you go to a show and in the golden ring they are perfectly fine. Then you go in the main ring for the puppy best in show or something like that, and you have behind a dark dog or a big dog, and the puppy didn't know what is it, okay, because they are used to see goldens. So ring craft I think is very helpful, especially for that.
Yeah, from that point. Oh, that's great. So Fanny, here's some pictures of you. How do you ring train?
Well, I agree with a lot of what you just said, but so let's say I've kept a puppy from my recent litter, and she's 8 weeks, and she now knows sort of how to stand on the table, and from time to time I stack her on the floor just so she sort of remembers what it's all about, and it's just not so serious. It's just important that she knows that my hands are soft, my hands are gentle, that she always gets a treat. But in our everyday life, we just practice the contact, walking next to me. We start to freestand a bit. If I'm on a walk, you know, pick up a stick, make them stand for a second, and then they can go fetch it. Easy things like that. Or when you're feeding the dogs and you've got the bowl in your hand, make the dog stand nicely for you, you know, so that they know that that's always something positive.
Yes.
And I never use the word no. I always encourage the right behavior. And I think it's good to have sort of a mental picture. What is it that you want in the future? And for me, I want my adult dogs all the way to veteran class to show and to love their moment in the ring. I want them to know that that's their special thing, you know, just It's just you and me, and this is our time. And I want them to love it all the way to veteran class. So that's good, because it helps me, okay, what can I do as a handler and as an owner to maintain that joy in the ring. And of course, taking the puppies for some social training into town. We live also in the countryside. It's just trees and a lake, and we don't actually meet so many people or dogs. So it's really crucial for us to go into town or go to ring practice and to some shows, but not too many with the puppies. But it's a good experience, and but just not too much.
Do you have ring craft classes, Fanny?
We have it a little bit. Lately, we've started to organize it ourselves, actually, especially this last year, because we just realized when we eventually get a chance to take our dogs to dog shows again, they're not going to know what it is. So we've started to gather friends just for them to get socialized, to meet black dogs, dark dogs, dogs of different breeds. Just getting used to other people's hands on them. So that's been really good.
Yeah, that's great. And I mean, I guess you both kind of talked a little bit about this, about how you put so much enthusiasm into your dogs, and you train in such a positive way that you're keeping them fresh and happy, and that is so important, because you often see dogs here that have been doing quite a lot of winning, and then all of a sudden they'll get to the stage where they put the anchors in and they don't want to do it. I think maybe some of it's coming down the lead. You're on 2 tickets, you're desperate for that third one, and suddenly some of the fun might sort of come out of it. But are there any tips that you've got for keeping the dogs, keen and happy in the ring?
For me?
Yeah.
I mean, I totally agree with what you're saying. It's many nerves involved in showing dogs. And I think handling dogs is so much about communication. For me, communicating what I want to the dog, and making sure that I do it in a way that they understand. Because I think if they're not doing what I want them to do, I really have to think about, okay, how am I communicating, and what am I, what are my feelings, doing to the dog, because they feel everything. And that's, I mean, I've thought a lot about mental training and trying to figure out how to deal with nerves, because we all have them. And I think I can relate to everyone who's felt, embarrassed in the ring, ashamed, something's gone wrong, everyone's looking. Well, it feels like everyone's looking anyway. And it's a big deal sometimes. You really want to win, or you just don't want to embarrass yourself. But there was this moment when it really clicked for me, because I was showing a really lovely bitch, and she was, quite happy in the ring and everything. It was no problem, but it was nothing compared to what she was like when we won the class, because she just, she was just bouncing, tail wagging like crazy, sort of dancing in front of me. And I just thought, wow, how can I work with myself to get that from her earlier in the class, not just when we, maybe win the class, but how can I get that all the way from the beginning? I definitely need to work with myself. So it is hard to manage our nerves, I know. So you really have to find what works for you. But it can be as simple things as, dropping your shoulders, taking deep breaths, and to use your normal voice. Simple things, but they can really do a huge difference for the dog to relax. Especially in the moment when the judge goes over the dog, it becomes very quiet. It's very tense. And if we become quiet and tense, the dog does the same. and it's a golden retriever. It's not a dachshund. A dachshund doesn't care if I'm nervous or tense. They're still going to be his little, confident self. But a golden is very, in tune.
Yeah. But as a judge, I always say something to every single handler, whether it's just asking the age of the dog. Obviously, in the age classes, I know that I know how old the dog should be, what band that they are, but I continue to ask all the way through, so that I'm aware if there's something that's very immature, that's much older or things. But I also think that just breaks the ice. How old is your dog? And then quite often the handler's thinking, what does she want to know that for? I've forgotten how old it is. And it just diffuses that kind of immediate thing. But it gives them something else to focus on rather than, that kind of like that tension, and just having somebody that just smiles and helps to put you at ease, I think makes a big difference.
Yeah, I think so too.
Giovanni, any tips that you've got?
I agree absolutely about what Fanny said. It's a question of feeling between the handler and the dogs. I think that for accompanying a dog heavily, the dog need to be predisposed for it, because there are some dogs that can't be accompanying heavily. Some of them you can do what you want, but maybe some of them didn't like the ring. But some dogs really can come in the ring and say, here I am. And it's a question of feeling, because if you are a little unsure, if you have a dog like that, give you the power enough to can stay much easy in the ring. And for me, must be a play, must be a connection all the time in the ring. I am connected with my dog. I didn't look around, I didn't chat. I try all the time to be connected with him. We treat with a little game, with the voice, with a hug, but it must be our moment. Okay, so when we are in the ring, the dogs know that it is our time together, and yes,
and your special moment, really, your special time together.
A special time together is very important, in my opinion, and they knows it.
Yeah, and I think most dogs do really love to have your sole attention. So if you can make that kind of very intimate moment with them, then that's really good advice, Giovanni.
Because at home they have to share their life and their attention with all the dogs, but when they are in the ring with you, it is a private moment between you and him or her. So I like it.
Yeah, that's really good. When you are showing a dog, Giovanni, how much do you actually practice with them in between the shows?
Honestly, not that much with the adult dog. No, sometimes in the garden, yes. If I have to encourage something, maybe on the run or on the up and down, I did it at home in the garden. But I love that. I can say I love that the dog is natural in the ring. Okay, I do not like robot, especially in the movement. I like that they come out with their way of playing. Okay, so I want to see them, not something that I particularly teach to them. They need to be themselves in the ring. So I didn't practice that much at home, just sometimes. Yes,
I like to see a dog's personality. And see
personality means a lot. Also for a judge, I think I've judged a couple of open show, but some dogs come in the ring really saying, here I am, and your eyes immediately felt on their attitude.
Yes, yeah, and of course it's such a big important part of what a golden retriever is, that will to please, happy,
Absolutely.
extrovert, confident kind of dog, and we should be seeing that temperament, and the longer I've judged, the more that has influenced me. So I think at one time I was quite tolerant if something was a bit nervous or a bit shy, whereas now I'm not tolerant of that at all, because I believe that the real power of our breed is in its temperament and personality. And so I'm much more strict now, and it's something that I've learned and reflected on a lot. Yeah.
If a dog didn't like the ring, I absolutely didn't want to push him into making no, because if they didn't want him, it is like asking a person to do something that make him frightened. It's not fair.
No.
So,
and actually in my experience, you can't overcome that really. Those dogs are never really happy, and they're never really relaxed in the ring. Yeah. Fanny, do you practice much with your dogs in between the shows when you're showing them?
Not much at all. And I agree with what you said. If you have a shy dog or a dog that's just sick of it all, let it stay at home. I mean, sometimes we've kept these puppies that are just, incredibly stylish and everything, but they're just a little bit shy, and it's just no fun for the dog or for us. So no, I don't feel good about pushing a dog either. Or sometimes they're just telling you they need a break. So that's something that you should really give them. But at home, I mean, I like to train them in their everyday life. And the young dogs, they need to be reminded, of course. But mostly it's just contact, a bit of freestanding on our walks. We never go out to sort of show train, nothing like that. Every time they come back to me during a walk for a treat, I have them standing in front of me, get a little treat, and then they can run off again. I do teach them some things in order to get good photos, like the bitch in this picture. I teach them to stay while I'm throwing a treat. So it just gives them that bit of extra carriage and a bit of oomph, I think. I also teach them to catch if I'm throwing a treat, because it gets them, when you're free stacking a dog and you teach them that, you get a bit of distance between you and the dog, and you get a better carriage of the head, so it's not looking up like this on your pocket. You get a bit of distance with the dog and a better head carriage. So just a few simple things, and especially with the photos, they can really look as a sack of potato. A golden retriever that's a bit lazy and finished with the day. So that's a really good thing, I think.
Yeah, good tip. So Giovanni, you're here doing some gun dog training with your dog. What kind of other types of training do you do with your dogs?
Honestly, not that much, and not with all of them. But I have a couple of dogs that really likes it, and I see it. And with a friend of mine, we did something with cold animals, and I try competitive, but it's not a field trial. It is how we can say like a selective. It is an attitudinal test. And I decided to enter Belle there because she loves it, and you can really see that she's like a child waiting for Santa. And so I decided to bring her there, and she got it with excellence. And her children are quite happy with it, but I'm not so happy, honestly, to do it with the dead animals. So it is something that I did sometimes, but not very often. But if you have a dog that likes it, it gives a lot of satisfaction, both both to you and the dogs. And again, it is a special feeling also in the working, and you have to trust probably the dog much more than to a show, because to a show you have anyway exactly a leash that can a bit command it, but in a training or in a shooting like that, you have to trust a lot your dog, and the dogs have to trust you.
Yeah, I'm surprised because I always think of the Italians of enjoying their hunting, and I know when I judged at the Retriever Club in Italy, they had a cold game test after on the next day, and that was so well attended. You know, a lot of people from the show.
Yeah, lots of people. I brought my dogs sometimes to the picking up, and I enjoy it much more than again dog training, because on a picking up you can really see the natural abilities of the dog, because the birds are shot and you just leave the dogs and he has to go where he wants and bring to you what he found. So you have not to say go there, right, left. So you really see their abilities. Okay, and I enjoyed the picking up much more than a real gun dog training.
You see their instinct, don't you? Their
exactly.
real natural instinct.
The real natural instinct, yeah, and they loves it.
Yeah, absolutely. Fanny, what kind of other training do you do with your dogs?
Well, my answer is a bit similar, because I, to be honest, I don't do a lot of training. My dog life consists a lot of walking in the forests, playing. I always make sure I do something that the dog enjoys, like you said, Giovanni. And if they love retrieving, that's something that I want to, of course, let them do. And I've attended a couple of working tests and a pickup as well. And I enjoy it. I just wish, I guess I wish I had more time. At the moment, it's just, I teach them various tricks, some things like things that I want to bring in the show ring to sort of make them relax and do something fun. So everyone gets to know some tricks with me.
Doing high fives and things. Yeah. My dogs love doing tricks. They you know, and playing.
And it's very useful in the ring if you have a dog that you show, you know, freestanding, and you sort of, the tail goes a little bit slower. You make them do something, spin around or sit like this, or give them a high five, and they sort of, you know, get some more energy, I think.
Yeah, definitely. So just on that, you know, it's about how do you sort of optimize the mental condition of the dogs that you're showing. You've talked a lot about the kind of informal but persistent kind of training. What other things do you think are important?
Me?
Fanny can go. Yeah, go on.
Well, I mean, I'm very particular with the dog's routines when we are showing. I make sure they get enough sleep, that they are comfortable in the car, they're not jammed in, too many of them, that they get the food they need, the drink that they need, make sure that they've been to the toilet, things like that, basic things. I make sure they have a nice quiet spot at the show, so that they can relax before it's their turn. So I'm very strict about that. And between the shows, they really get to be dogs, you know. As I said, we live in the forest, so they get a lot of exercise, both running in the hills and swimming, running. So it's a lot of just caring for the dogs, I think, to optimize the mental condition.
But letting dogs be dogs. As well.
Letting them be dirty, you know, as Goldens love to be.
Yeah,
definitely. Giovanni, is there
absolutely,
anything you would add to that?
Absolutely. the same. Keep them comfort at the show the most we can, and during the week let them be dogs. Absolutely. Our dogs as well run every single day. They run through deers, through rabbits, they go on the mud, they swim, and I think that also for the mental condition that is very important, that during the weeks they can do what they really love to do.
Sure.
And yeah, for the muscles conditions and for the movement, that helps a lot, because if you keep your dogs always on the sofa, he can't have that muscle that I have my dog. I have some of mine who lives in families, and I can really see the difference between the dogs that I have at home and the dogs that lives in family. Maybe they have the same show predisposition. Okay, they love the ring the same, but the muscles conditions and they are strong. I don't know how to explain, but there is a different. They are more solid. Okay, because they did every day lot of exercise, jumping, running, and that keep them mental and physical
in the peak of
very
fitness.
active. Yeah, and it helps a lot, especially in the movement, in my opinion, because the dogs can have a lovely movement, but if he didn't have the physical condition, he can't let's see it in the same way.
No, they're not up on their toes, and it's sloppy, isn't it, when they're lacking muscle tone. I think the other thing about all of this as well is the relationship that you build with your dogs, and having so as well as them being physically and mentally they have absolute trust and faith in you. And I think that carries things a lot as well, you know, and doing all these things with your dog builds that relationship, doesn't it? You know?
Well, I agree. It creates a bond that sort of shines through in the ring.
Yeah.
And talking about mental condition, I mean, what it does for our mental health to be out and moving with our dogs is sort of the best thing about having dogs as well. Yeah. I think.
Absolutely. It's so good for us, isn't it? You know, it's, I know with all of the lockdown that we've had in the UK, I've counted my blessings every day that I live in a rural area and I've got my dogs, and that's been a huge, persistent thing in my life that's really helped to keep me well, I think. Yeah, definitely. But it does take a lot of effort, doesn't it? They're quite big dogs, golden retrievers, so they do need a lot of input. And I know when I've been showing and campaigning males in particularly, I've gone out on a bicycle and you know, ridden my bike so that they can then trot at a much faster pace than than they would do normally.
A lot of miles every day.
Yeah.
But it helps now that during the lockdown, all the gym saloons are closed.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
I know. So, Giovanni, how do you manage your dog's coats and the preparation for the show ring?
Well, I love to prepare my dog for the show. I always, every show, I give them a shampoo. Also, if there is only a week between the shows, I always give them a shampoo and blow dry them till they are totally dry. I think that is very much important, because if you let just a little bit of humidity in the undercoat, on the undercoat, that come out and can ruin all your job. So I really suggest to dry the dogs very, very well. And my puppies are used to be bathed and trimmed since they are little puppies. I normally wash them the first time at 2 months, and then regularly if there are no show, I wash them every month and a half, 2 months. Otherwise, if we show heavily, I can wash them also every week. Yes, and they are useful to do it. So I don't think they like it, because say they like is a bit too much, but they are okay. I use lovely products. I use shampoo and also some balsam that help a lot.
What shampoo do you prefer, Giovanni? Have you got a favorite?
Yes, I have a favorite. It is an Italian brand called Special One, and it has amazing products. And the coat can really shine. I love when I am with the dogs and the sun go on that they can shine. And with that product, it helps. They help a lot on it. Yes, and I wash them normally the day before the show. It depends, because if you have a dog with lots of coats, you can wash him a couple of days before. And if you have a dog with not that much undercoat, sometimes I wash him on her also the morning of the show. But I think it is very important going to a show with a well-prepared dog, because it's a fact of respect for the dog, for the handler, and for the judge. Because I don't think we will go somewhere out where all the people are scruffy or without a shower or something. So I think that for the dog is a fact of respect.
It's one of the things that you can get right, isn't it? You know, on the day your dog might not move so well, or there might be other factors that happen, but it's a consistent thing that you can do and turn your dog out nicely. How often do you groom your dogs, Giovanni?
I groom them all the time. I wash them. Before I wash, I make them perfect clean, and after a couple of hours, when really they are perfectly dry, I wash them. In that way, the coat that you cut if the coat is very clean, it's much more easy to cut. Much more easy to cut. So always before the bath and after a couple of hours, the trimming.
So you do the trimming after you've washed the dog?
After I wash the dog. Yes, all after. And maybe the last little thing you can do at the show, like something on the ears or on the feet. I normally always go to the show with my trimming table and my scissors. So if there is something I want to correct, I do it. But for me, it's very important trimming them just after the bath.
And do you groom your dogs much in between you doing the show preparation?
Sorry?
How often do you brush your dogs in between the preparation for the shows?
Not that much. I didn't brush them that much. I brush them a lot when they are losing their coat, because it helps that much to let. Yes. In that period, I both brush and wash them a lot, because with the blow dryer, all the old coat go out, and the new one can come out that much better. I use some.
When I'm trying to get rid of the coat, when I wash the dog, I put conditioner on, and then if you put some rubber gloves on and really work,
come out.
You get masses, you get all that dead coat out.
And with dog with a particularly wave coat, I use the dressing stuff to put on them. To keep the
flatter, so the curves go flat instead
exactly
of,
that one. So that helps. that much. Yeah.
Fanny, tell me how you do your coat preparation.
Well, I agree on a lot. It's funny, we haven't talked about this at all, me and Giovanni, but I do a lot of it the same. I mean, I bath my dogs before every show. So if I have show weekends, following each other, I still want them to look their best.
Mm-hmm.
And I totally agree that it's a type of respect to the dog and to yourself and to the judge and everyone who's watching as well. I mean, some people might only see your dog once in their life, and I want the dog to have the sort of the best chance to make an impression. And I don't want people to look at my dogs and think, it looks a bit scruffy or not clean or not groomed properly. Having said that, I really like a natural look. I don't want them to look clipped or anything. I mean, there should be no markings of a scissor, any sign that you've been there. And the preparations vary a bit. If I have a big coat, like you said, and I need a dry coat to sort of push it down a bit, or a really wavy coat, that's a big help. If I need more volume, I might just wet the sides of the dog in the morning and sort of put some air into it with the blow dryer just to pump it up a little bit. Yeah. And we use shampoo and conditioner. That's sort of all you need, really.
Have you got a favorite product?
Well, at the moment, I'm using something called Fraser Essentials that I'm really fond of. It's all natural products. And I've started to get a little bit more aware of what they put into these coat products, both for the dog's skin, but also for my skin, and also what we rinse out in the water. And in a lot of shampoos, they put sulfates. It's sort of the thing that makes it lathering, that makes it frothy, like a soap, and it makes it easy to clean out all the oil and all the dirt in the coat. And it's very effective. It's just that the downside is that it can also strip the natural oils from the skin, from the scalp. And the reaction is that the skin sort of then overproduces oil to compensate for this. So you get sort of an imbalance. So that's something that that I'm looking into more. Yeah. And always, I think we're just looking for what the standard is saying. So the standard is looking for a flat or wavy coat with good feathering, and that's what we want to achieve. Nothing else. No standard's not asking for any exaggerations. So we're not trying to accomplish anything like that.
Yeah, that I mean, I'm going to skip this question now because you've absolutely answered that about just trying to, when I first started, it was very much just about tidying up the dog and things, whereas some people almost seem to be scalping their front and, altering the appearance of the coat by using dry coats to really flatten them. And I even had a continental judge saying that, well, of course, the golden retriever should have a flat coat and not a wavy coat. And I thought that's just showing that some people are altering the appearance of the dog. And I think that maybe we need to be a bit clearer about what breed type is. And as you just said, you're trying to enhance that appearance and try and preserve those kind of elements of the coat, those lovely gold threads that run through a coat and the waves that are so attractive.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, we can still do a lot. Like you said before, these are the things that we might actually have a chance to affect. Like the dog is going to have a good or a bad day in the end, but the coat preparation, that's something that we can control and something that we can really put our effort into, which is also a nice feeling that you've done everything you can. And some people might think, how much, blowing the coat completely dry, do I really have to put in all this work? I mean, isn't the judge still going to see if it's a good dog or not? Well, yes, but I just think the work that you put in always matches your ambition. So if you're quite happy with the dog looking okay, and you might win a class, or you might even be second or third in a class, and you're quite happy with that, then by all means, that's fine, of course. But if you want to aim higher, and you want to maybe win a best of breed, and you want to represent your breed in the group, then you have to put in the work. I also think about grooming, I do it sort of exactly the way that Giovanni described, so I'm not going to repeat it. But every dog is very different, and I think you need to get to know your dog's coat, and you need to practice. That's the only way to learn, is to, cut. And after a few shows, I think you really get tuned in with your dog, both when it comes to handling, but when it comes to grooming as well. And I'm sitting thinking of all the, the Gatchels, the Chaleur dogs that they let me practice on. And I'm sure most of them didn't look very good, at least in the beginning, but that's the only way to learn. And I mean, you can practice on, if you're new in the sport, practice on the dogs that are not being shown at the moment. So then it doesn't matter if it looks a bit scruffy, or it looks, you got a cut here that's that you didn't mean to. And I think my most valuable tip, I think, is to ask for feedback. I mean, from your breeder, from your friends. I think that's the way you improve, because it's so easy to, stand at home and you think, oh, this is perfect. I've done everything I can with exercise, with grooming, with, food. But you need a different set of eyes to look at your dog.
And now we also have the ability with technology for somebody to take a video for you as well on a mobile phone, and those are really invaluable as well, because I know getting feedback's great, but actually if you keep an open mind, you can be your biggest critique, if you like. Sometimes you're likely to be a bit harder with yourself, but if you can actually see what you did and the sort of totality of it, that makes a huge difference, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I remember someone asked me once, who do you want to be recognized as? Do you want to be recognized as a handler who shows any mediocre dog that they can get their hands on, or are you the handler who sort of always shows up with dogs in perfect condition, who are always happy, showing perfect coat, everything? So it's a bit up to you, which is great in a way, that you can decide how you want to do it.
Yeah, that's very good advice. Yeah, Giovanni, would you add anything else to the sort of preserving breed type in the way that dogs are presented?
I perfectly agree about what I fully agree about what Fanny said. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I think you can, as Fanny said as well, if you know your dog, you can do little tweaks within the trimming. If you have a dog that's longer, you can take it a bit shorter.
Yeah, every dog is different, and with the trimming, you have to know very well the fault of your dogs, because with the trimming, you can improve that much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Something about this picture that I wanted to illustrate is just different kinds of coats, but aiming for the same result. So the boy on the left, my boy Dewey, he has a big coat and a very wavy coat, and as I said to you before, he gets a duck tail just in front of his tail.
Just this here where it flicks up. Yeah, and that's one of the things. If Giovanni, if you don't dry them properly, then you wake up the next day and it's
exactly that's what I mean before.
And for him, the dry coat has just done wonders. It wouldn't be so much fun for me otherwise. And the girl Connie on the right, she didn't have a big coat, so with her we really needed to blow dry her in the morning to get just a little bit more volume, without changing texture or anything, just getting some air into the coat, if you know what I mean.
So you just spray her up and give her a bit of a blast to try and lift that coat?
Yeah, just water and blow dry her. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. very interesting. I frequently see dogs who won't complete a full run, whether it's to go away and come back, or they may finish short. They often lack corner, cut round on the corners, and generally lack enthusiasm. I think we've already talked a lot about this, but have you got any additional tips on how to improve movement, Giovanni?
Yes, I will suggest to use a ball, a tennis ball or something like that at home, and you run up and down in your garden or somewhere, and when you are in the middle of the run, you just put the ball and the dog run. So when you are at the show, you didn't name maybe the ball, but something smaller, and you just do with your hands, and the dog keep attention, and it is much more proposal to finish the run, or with the food. But I think that with the ball or something that keep him more active, it helps much more. I normally use it.
That's a good tip. Fanny, any tips on improving movement?
When it comes to just improving the dog on the move, I think if you really want to step up your game, running with a dog or cycling, as you said before, you took your dogs on the bike. I think it's done wonders for my dogs, just to get that extra strength and stamina during the trot. Has been super, and it gives them such more strength in the top line. And as for the question, if you want me to answer the other question as well, keep the enthusiasm in the ring, I think it's something that so easily happens, that they lose the enthusiasm, they lose the drive. And I like to think of it in the ring, that I never stop working with the dog. I never take the dog for granted that they're going to show without me working for it. So I never tease the dog without rewarding it after, if you know what I mean.
Right.
So completing a circle, if I have a treat in the hand, I make sure I give it to the dog. I don't put it back, because the dog is going to know the next time, what's the point running if I don't get anything for it. So with the movement, I tried to illustrate this with 2 pictures. The right picture, I have a treat in my left hand. So I just collect the lead in my hand and put a sausage or something, just so I can, motivate the dog by having the treats really close to the nose. And from time to time, they get the whole thing. So they know that they're going to be rewarded for it.
A big treat.
Yeah.
A big treat if they get a whole sausage.
Make it worth their while. And you're going to have a dog that shows for you year after year. And with other dogs, like the Connie, the bitch on the right, I do something similar like you, Giovanni. I throw something in front of them and use a word like go or yeah.
Exactly.
Something like that. And then I use the word in the ring, maybe even simulate that movement with my right hand, because they're just going to go like, oh, the treat is coming, the treat is coming.
Yeah.
And they get that, incredible drive and enthusiasm. Yeah. And so if I finish a circle, I make sure to give them a treat. So there's no teasing.
Yeah. I've also found if you can find a small favorite toy, I used to have a little mouse that was made of fur that squeaked, and I would play with the dog at home with it and keep it keen. I never let them own the toy. I kept it as my special toy with them. And then if they were starting to get a bit sort of stale with this, then I would have that in my pocket and I'd let them know that I had it. I might peep, but never actually give it to them, and sort of almost tantalize them, if you like, that I had it. And every now and again I'd sort of do what you say, but I suspect it's a bit cruel.
It's also getting to know your dog and see what makes them click. So some dogs don't need the encouragement at all. They sort of need, pulling back a little bit. But some they do need a little bit of help. I think if you can find things, most of my dogs really love when you like scratch their bum a little bit, like, oh, they get really, they love that. Or when you blow in their face, they get really excited.
Yes.
So try and be playful and see what they like.
Yes. Yeah, because some dogs aren't foodies, are they? And they don't want to necessarily, they won't respond in the same way to food, but as you say, touch or a ball or some kind of other element, I think is really, really interesting. Yeah. Okay, thanks, guys.
As we said, it's all a question of feeling, as we said before. Yeah.
So we all know that the perfect dog doesn't exist, and we can have things, funny top lines, turning feet, all sorts of funny little things. Do you have any tips to minimize the impact of the fault on the overall picture of the dogs? Giovanni?
Well, with trimming helps a lot in that much, and also a good handling. But first of all, and it is very, very important, you have to know the faults of your dog to can improve that. So you have to be critical, very critical, that much critical, to can improve that with the trimming or with the handling. For example, if you have a dog with a tail set that is not perfect, I will never stack her. I will teach her to freestanding, so she wagging the tail and exactly, and you minimize the fault on it. Or at the contrary, if you have a dog with not the best neck, maybe stacking him with the food, you can take him out that much more. So there are a lot of tricks, but you have to know very, very well the fault of your dog. And you can use both the two type of. Some dogs can easily freestanding, but with some fault you can't freestand the dog, because those faults came out that much more that with the stacking, because with the stacking you can hiding much more fault.
Yeah, you can put them into position, can't you?
Exactly, like the feet, the back legs, you can minimize that much. Yes.
Make sure they're not standing sickle hocked or something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing nicer than a dog freestanding when they're made well, they're standing four square and things, but they need to be right.
I like freestanding, but they have to be right, and they have to be that special connection with you to look really wow. Okay, because they have to put their body in a proper way, put all the weight into front, and is not that easy. Some dogs didn't like it, so it's better to stack them, but with some of them is beautiful freestanding.
Yeah, and sort of learning about how your dog moves and moving at the optimal speed for them, and it's very, isn't it? It's about knowing that animal intimately and working with it to show the nice things out. So we got a nice.
But the first tip, in my opinion, is knowing well the fault of your dog. If you didn't know the fault of your dog, of course you can do nothing.
No.
With the handling.
Yeah. Thank you, Giovanni. Fanny.
Pleasure.
I totally agree. I mean, knowing the dog's benefits and the faults and what you want to minimize, so to speak. And to do that, I just constantly go back to the standard. I mean, you have to study the breed standard to know what it's looking for. So you know what are benefits and what are faults in our breed. So study the standards, just so you know it like the back of your hand. And the other thing, just get feedback and constructive criticism, so you know, because it's hard sometimes. You see your dogs from up here, or when you're stacking the dog, either use a mirror, someone filming your dog, or a friend, or your breeder. It helps. It really helps being clear-sighted, I think, and it helps if you really know your dog. It helps to accept the judge's verdicts, and not create illusions that you do have the perfect show dog. So yeah, that's and I think that's what a good handler is. They do have that ability to be just a silent backdrop to the dog, and with really soft hands and small measures, bring out the best in the dog and minimize the faults. And I think maybe not consciously, but I think a judge, they see that. That's what they see in a good handler. Someone who just very discreetly brings out the best in that individual.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it is, it's a very subtle thing to be able to do that. You see some people and they kind of over dominate the situation, and or other people that can't raise their performance to that bar. But yeah, it's just being subtle, and every single dog has a fault, and there are some judges that won't tolerate certain things, but there are other people that will look at the qualities of the dog first, and then maybe be a bit more accepting of certain faults, depending on how the rest of the dog is, and that's how I kind of feel. I think, if you've got faced with a really, really good quality dog, but it has, a fault, then reward its virtues and, accept that. But some handlers are very good at concealing faults, particularly things like, length of loin. I've certainly seen people blow dry a loin in, and then when you put your hands on the dog, it's like massively long. And you're thinking, oh, it only looked a couple of inches, that, and sort of some of the shaping around, people will brush the feathering down to create an illusion of a much better angled rear end. And I always think it's the exhibitor's job to make the best of their animals, and the judge's job to find out where they've concealed things.
Yeah, I think it's also just one more thing. Just being a good handler is sometimes being very smart, being clever in the ring, sort of having eyes on your back. If you know your dog well, you also need to know when the judge is looking. So make sure you're not revealing anything, and sort of show the best sides when the timing is right. Because we spend 365 days a year with our dogs. We have maybe 2 minutes in the ring to impress the judge. So that's when you really have to be, focused and use your timing right.
Yeah, absolutely. It literally is 2 minutes as well. You have that bit at the beginning, but then your moment of glory is those 2 minutes. Yeah, very interesting. Now in the UK, we've got a lot of liberation in the ring. We don't have to go in number order. We can stand wherever we like. I always like to be at the beginning, so that if I've got a dog that moves well, I can really move out at my optimum speed with that dog. Sometimes people, if they have a very big or small dog, they will choose where they stand. So then they stand next to a dog of similar size, just to minimize the impact of this variance. So is there anything that you like to do in the ring with the limitations that you have of having to stand in number order, Giovanni?
Well, as a spectator, I prefer the way we did, because when you are out of the ring, find which dog is much easier with the number on the catalog. But as exhibitor, I like a lot how you did in the UK, because if you have quite a lazy dog and you have a huge class, I prefer being in the first places in the class, because I go under the judge with a very fresh dog. At the contrary, if I have a dog, maybe a young dog that is particularly excited in the ring, I prefer to stay down in the line so it can
calm down.
Yes, I'll calm down a bit. Or if you have a dog that carry the tail a bit high, it's much better to stay totally at the end of the line, so he has no one on the back. So I think as an handler, it can help a lot. It can help a lot. Yeah.
A bit easier under the UK.
Yeah, much easier.
Yeah.
Than for us. Yeah,
because you do have that freedom, and I agree with you. At the beginning, your dog's fresh, and you have a little bit more. You're not stuck in a bunch moving around. You can really shine. And I think as well, depending on how big the class is and the quality of the dogs that are there, the judge usually remembers that, you know, the ones at the beginning and the ones at the end. And then if it's not such a good class, you get a bit lost.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I agree.
Yeah. Fanny, anything you like in the ring?
No, I agree with you. I think it's a clever way of thinking about it. If you have an overly excited dog, maybe go down the line. If you have that choice, if you're showing in the UK, and if you have a bit of a lazy dog, maybe make sure that you have someone in front of you so you get a bit of a push. And have in mind that you might be shortlisted. So even if you are, make sure that you have a few dogs in front of you. And to also, it's not part of the question, but if you have a very excited dog, you know, when you see dogs coming in the class and they're like bouncy, and the first time they go around, they're just a little bit like unsettled, and then the next time they go, they're much more relaxed, much more settled on the move. And I always think, you know, you have to warm up the dog. If you know that you have a dog like that, make sure that you take it around a bit outside the ring. So those 2 minutes when it's all happening, you have the biggest chance of making an impression.
Yeah. And with that kind of dog, Fanny, if you can get there early before judging starts, you can have a couple of goes round in the ring.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Before, there's nothing like, you know, practice to make a perfect performance. But,
yeah. I mean, you also mentioned high tails. I was showing a bitch for a while, and she, I have to say, I had her tail flagging a bit. And with her, we really had to warm her up. She had a lot of energy, so that was not a problem. And with her running for a while, she sort of lowered her tail. So
she was less excitable. Yeah. It is a shame when they're like that. So, Fanny, carry on. How important do you think you are as part of the show team? And any tips about what to wear in the ring? You always look so lovely and smart. And you as the important backdrop to your dog.
Yeah, I think we've touched on a few of these things. I think you can't fake star quality in a dog, but I think a good handler can bring out the very best in the dog. And as far as clothing go, I think it's totally up to you. I think you should be comfortable. It's good to be a contrast to the dog, so you're not blending in together. It's sometimes easy to see in photos. There's something in the background going like this. It's not necessarily your dog's top line, but it sometimes looks like it. I mean, make sure you can bend over, double, with everything still fitting. Make sure keys and everything is sort of placed on the side. Close the jacket, put your hair up, just little things like that. For me, this is just what I feel. Anything that takes the attention from the dog, I like to minimize, so that there's nothing flapping, nothing distracting.
Wear a pencil skirt's really good, isn't it? Because if you wear a flared skirt or something, then that, as you take off, that's flapping and things. Yeah,
absolutely. But I mean, take care of yourself during the show day. Wear comfortable shoes, depending on the weather. or the venue. I mean, crafts and an open show, I wouldn't overdress for a puppy class in just something to socialize for, but I like to dress up for crafts or for a big event like that. So little things like that.
Yeah, and I noticed nearly all of your clothes do contrast lovely with the dogs that you're handling, and I think that's really important because you are a backdrop to the dog.
Yeah.
I once made a mistake of wearing a very similar suit to this, but it was a dress and not a skirt. And the minute I bent over, I realised I'd worn the wrong thing because, of course, that travelled far further up.
Sure. Yeah, it's to all of us.
Yeah, I know. And Giovanni, looking very smart here.
I fully agree with you both, and thanks. It is like for the dogs, I want to bring them in the ring in their best conditions, and I want to be in the best conditions too, for effect of respect. So yes, I want to be smart, especially for big shows like crafts, like World Dog Show or important show. And as Fanny, I also like to well dress, so it is also something to looking after. At all.
It is something that I've noticed differs very much from country to country, and I always find the Italian men are always really, really well turned out at the dog shows. And I kind of think sort of maybe if you go to somewhere like Holland, they're more likely to be in jeans and a t-shirt. Do you know what I mean? So culturally, there can be some quite
things from
country to country, you know. But yeah, and I think it's about, as you say, the subtleness of you with your dog. It's it is really important, you know. I mean, it does make such a difference, you know. I'm going to have to change my wardrobe having got a black dog, because I've got more black things to wear behind my Goldens than
Yeah, the color is important, especially in the pictures. If you have something different than the dog you can see much better.
Yeah, it's really, they really do stand out, don't they? And complement them as well, you know. I think your yellow suit, Fanny, looks beautiful behind the cream Goldens. It looks really nice. Yeah, it's a really good color.
I agree.
Yeah.
I was thinking about something else. I mean, the whole art of handling, like we talk about it, it's really about the presentation for me. And I hope people can understand the balance between being a discreet backdrop, not stealing attention from the dog. But having said that, I don't want to walk in the ring like being like shy, make myself tiny, make myself smaller. That's not what I mean at all. I prefer, like I talked about in the beginning, with me having a background in dancing, it's a lot about your posture, showing your pride. Like, I know this is the best dog and I'm here to win the class. Like, I'm here to convince the rest of you that this is the best dog. So it's like being proud of your dog without stealing the attention. And there might be a fine line, but there is a difference. And I hope you understand what I mean.
I think you're right, Fanny. When you exhibit, you have to have absolute belief that your dog is the best one there. If you go in and you start making excuses for it, it shows. Those cracks show, you know, and it is about the confidence of that teamwork, isn't it? You know, yeah, very interesting. So just tell us a bit, Giovanni, about how you manage your show day and how you plan what you're going to do when you're exhibiting the dogs on the day that you
Well, if I can drive in the morning, I much prefer it for the dogs because they can easily sleep at home, and I think that in the morning they are much relaxed than having spent a night in a hotel or in the car. So I want to be at the show quite early because in Italy or in Europe we are not benched, so we have to find a nice. I want to find early in the morning a nice place where to put my cages, and where maybe not too much people are working in front, because we have not so much space like you have in the UK. So I want it. I put all my cage, every dog in a cage, so it can sleep. They have their towels, and I bring with me some goat milk because they love it, and sometimes maybe it keeps them much fresh, because sometimes they didn't want to drink only water, but with a bit of goat milk, they are much more interested in it. I let them sleep in the cage, and just before going in the ring, I put them on my grooming table, a big brush, some oil on the coat, and if I have the possibility to have the blow dryer, I blow dry a bit to have a refresh. Otherwise, I put some water or some balsam or that, and I bring out for a little walk or for a little run, so the balsam or the oil can be dried off, and that's all. That's all. Then it's time to go in a ring.
So you try and keep them quite quiet and a
lot of quiet. Every dog a cage, so I didn't disturb them if I have to go in a class with one before and then another one. So every dog has his cage. They are, maybe I use to put the puppy together with an adult at the beginning, so he learn from the adult dog how to manners inside of the cage. But I want to keep them calm and comfort. Absolutely. And in the summer, if it is too much hot, I bring ventilation or dry coat.
The cool coat.
Exactly, the wet coat. That one's that helps a lot, and a lot of treats.
Yeah. They're really good. The cool coats, aren't they? They really.
Yeah, they really are.
Keeping dogs.
It really helps so much. And a bit of, if you have the possibility to have a ventilation or something like that, also it helps, because in the summer when it is too hot, they goes down very much.
So you were
telling them fresh is the first thing.
You've got a air conditioning unit that you can put on the cage now. You were saying that
in front of the cage.
You see in other breeds that they have cold mats, or they sit their little toys onto ice blocks and things like that to manage it. I think you've got an added problem in Italy, because it's rarely too hot in the UK. You know, it's
yes, in Italy we have from June to end of September. That it can be quite difficult. I didn't go to the show with too many. If I am alone, I didn't bring more than 3 dogs, because I want exactly to keep them comfort, and if I have too many, I can't give them the right attention. So if I have someone that help me, baby, I can go with 4 or 5, but if I am alone, not more than 2, 3.
To enable you to make sure that they're
exactly okay. Right attention and comfort all the day long, because the day at the show can be very long. They need to go out for a wee quite often, and can drink and have the right attention constantly.
They relax and enjoy it.
Exactly, enjoy it to the top.
Super. And Fanny, how do you plan your show day? I can imagine quite similar, really.
Some very good points. And I agree. Just 2 things. The picture you had before, it makes me laugh, because it's sort of the way my friends picture me, I think, when we go to dog shows. And we haven't shown here for a while now, and just hearing this is it really makes you itch to go to dog shows again. But
are you having shows at the moment, Fanny?
Sorry?
Are you having any dog shows at the moment?
No, nothing for over a year.
No.
But hopefully one day. So, well, the planning, I mean, of course, it starts months before the show. The dog needs to be in coat and in perfect condition on that day. I never show my dogs if they're out of coat. I think that's a favor you should do for yourself, and something that I don't want to compromise with. Like we talked about before, is the respect for the judge, for myself and for the dog, and also for people who see my dog maybe just this once. But I want my dogs to get enough sleep, food, to be at their best. If I'm traveling, I make sure I get the afternoon for the dogs to rest, but I also prefer to go in the morning if it's possible. And it's no late nights for me. It's early to bed and early to rise. And I like to be there early to avoid stress for me, but most of all for my dogs. So I want to find a quiet spot so that they can relax. It's something that they really need to do along the day. If it's a busy show, I explain, politely to children and families that my dogs need to rest, but that then they can come and say hello when the show is over. Sort of the first thing that I do when I've got all my things in place, I ask a friend for feedback to look at my dogs, both moving and standing. Do I need some finishing things with the grooming? How's the condition? Have I fed the dog too much? Always we try and help each other to get that second opinion.
Yeah.
I try to observe the judges' routines in the ring, something that I really advise everyone to do, because then you know what's expected of you when you come in the ring. And when it's time for me to enter, I really do it with a proud look on my face. I make sure the judge gets a glimpse of my dog the moment when I walk to my spot. And actually, I don't just, in a shy way, walk over into the ring and take my spot. I try and use the ring so the judges might, notice my dog. Just casually walking across the ring without stealing attention from anyone else, of course. But
it's first impact.
Yeah, it's the first impact. And it's such a short amount of time again. So you hope that the dog is presenting himself to the judge when they turn around to look at you. And I make sure to play with my dog, remove pressure and negativity that has, nothing to do with showing. And I always have a plan B. So I always bring extras of everything. That also helps me to remove stress and nerves. I have extra treats, extra show leashes, extra shoes, extra outfits for any kind of weather, etc. So it's the little things that work for me. And I really make sure I enjoy my day. I go there to have a good time. And I really think for me that's a lot of my practice.
Preparation and practice makes a perfect performance.
I hope so. That's what you aim for, at least. And I totally agree with not bringing. I think you're not doing yourself any favors by bringing too many dogs.
Too many dogs, no.
It's just very hard to sort of do them right. Sort of better for them and for you to not bring so many.
I'm impressed that Giovanni can manage 3 or 4. I think I must be getting old. I can only ever manage 1 or 2 these days.
Well, Penny, I'm just saying, accents, it's very easy.
You put them in a crate. You put them all in.
Just one under each arm.
Yeah, that's gorgeous. That's gorgeous. Thank you, Fanny and Giovanni. That's great. Now, I think you probably know very much what I'm sort of inferring in this question. And I think given the people that have mentored both of you, that you're not falling into the sort of the exaggeration or the lack of type, but many of the experienced judges are worried about the impact of the generic show dog who's winning on excellent presentation, perfect handling, but hasn't got good breed type and often very exaggerated. do you think that the increased skill of some of the handlers is responsible for the changes that we're seeing in the breed? You know, people want to use a dog that's winning, and they don't necessarily look at that dog. You know, it may be very long, very low, very over-angulated in the rear end. And I'd say our judge is responsible for this. And where do you think we're going as a breed, as a gun dog in the future? Giovanni, do you want to start us off?
Yes, I would like to answer this question with an example. I judged in Finland an open show 2 years ago, and I had a beautiful quality of male, and I loved the veteran dog, and the handler of the veteran dog won 2 classes that day. So she wanted to put her energy on another dog and not on the veteran. So she put the veteran in the hands of a nice young lady, but not very well handler. So there was a beautiful lineup, but my eyes felt always in the veteran, also if he was in the hands of not such an expert people. Okay, so I think, and it was my best dog. So I think that if a judge knows very well the standard, can easily find out the best dog, handler or not handler.
Yeah.
Of course, if the quality is very, very, very high, and you have 2 beautiful dogs, one in the hand of a professional and one in the handler of a person that didn't show it very well, that will make the difference.
Yes.
Okay, but we speak about the best. Okay, not a lacking type dog. We speak about 2 beautiful dogs. The handler can give that much input, but anyway, we speak about stunning dog. I don't think that a lack in type and with not so good point dog can win in the hand of an handler instead of a stunning dog. That is my point of view.
Okay. I've certainly seen some very untypical dogs be put up, and often because they are being very well handled, or and it saddens me to see that, because I do wonder what some judges are thinking when they're judging, you know, and they're not necessarily looking for a golden retriever. But that's the difference, isn't it? Is a show about beauty, or is it about pedigree dogs? And I totally agree with you that handling can promote a dog. And if you've got a fine line between 2 animals, a dog that's presented much better may have an advantage over the other dog. But it is sad. There is a kind of a generic, flashy kind of show dog, often that's moving with exaggeration as well, that seems to be winning and changing the shape of the breed in the outline, you know. So yeah, but thanks, Giovanni. Yeah.
Pleasure.
Fanny.
Yeah, I think it's a really good question. I think exaggerations both come from how you breed the dog and how you handle the dog. And it might be something that we always have to sort of be aware of, a question that we have to raise from time to time. But I think mainly the judge has the power to sort of guard the basic things that even this world-class, fabulous dog, it must fulfill the basic needs of the standard, and the movement and the mentality, the temperament, and to not be seduced by this star quality, or what you want to call it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the dog show has a basic reason, and it is to assess the breeding from what you want from the standard.
Yes.
So we always have to come back to that. And the perfect show dog or the star quality dog, that's on top of that. As you said, if you have two dogs in the class of equal quality and breed type and breed essentials, if one of them shows, amazingly and has that star quality, then it's going to have that as a bonus. But it just needs the breed essentials. And I do think there's a point to reminding ourselves as handlers what we're trying to accomplish when we're training and showing a golden. I mean, it's not an Afghan hound. It's not supposed to go fast or racy in the ring. So just coming back to the basics, what's the golden retriever's general appearance and what's the expression supposed to look like? What's the temperament like? You read the standard and then close your eyes and picture this dog. And it's not an extreme dog, an exaggerated dog in any way.
Yeah.
But it's a very interesting topic, I think, from what we see around the world. Yes. And the last part of the question, I think, is it's hard to see. Hard for me to answer what the golden retriever is going to be like as a gun dog in the future. I mean, we talked about it a little bit before. I have Dachshunds as well, and we have it's a working dog, and we have an ability test that we need to pass to be able to win a CC, to be able to finish up a champion. And it's not hard. It's something we practice a little bit before we do it, but it's not something that's impossible for you to do. On the contrary, it's quite easy, and the dogs, they have it in them, so it's easy to bring out. But I would love to see something similar for a golden retriever, just in the basic abilities, like it's supposed to have. Because, I mean, we used to have. We needed a working merit in Sweden before they sort of separated the champion titles. And I think it's hard for some people to go into working. It's a high level to start. So I don't know if that will be something for the breed. But,
I think it probably needs it. And in England, we have a showy general working certificate, but it may be that's too hard. I'm not sure. Quite a demanding test, but it's interesting. Thank you, Fanny. So, Giovanni, any tips for getting the most out of your dog if you win the class and you're going back into the challenge and onto the group and best in show, just to keep your dog on the fresh and on his toes?
Yes, I really like to bring them back in their cage and start a new adventure. Also, maybe 4 or 5 minutes later, but have a break between the class and between the challenge, always. So we come out of the class, I give them something to drink, maybe out for a wee-wee, and then, if it's possible, 5 minutes in the cage, so they can rest a bit, and when they come out, it is like if they have a recharge. They come out and they are again overexcited to go in the ring, and I find it very, very helpful. Have a break between all the part of the day, because if you won a big class, so if you are in the ring for a long time and you have to be back again immediately in the challenge, that would be a bit difficult.
Mm-hmm. So just even having 5 minutes.
5 minutes rest in their cage and rest, and then again recharged and have the same enthusiastic that they have before going in the class.
Yeah. And I guess a lot of it is, as we've already said, that you've got a dog that's enthusiastic about showing and motivated and things, so they kind of know the routine, don't they? And having that sticking to that routine is probably really an important part of it.
Yes, they knows it very well. And keep them fresh and keep them play, as you can see in the pictures. I always play with Rosette and with my voice and with everything to keep them happy all the time. That's most important for me. Keep them jumping on me, and I love it.
Yeah, and have a cuddle and
Yes.
Yeah, reinforce that relationship all the time, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all a question of feeling, I think.
Yeah, very much so, Giovanni. Fanny?
No, very well said. I think, make sure your dog is allowed to be bored. Put it back in the cage when it doesn't need to perform, so it can relax, get a bit of sleep, get some water. Pick a corner of the show where it's a bit quiet if you can, and bring different treats, cold water, some shade if it's a warm day. If you're in the ring, I mean, in the UK, sometimes you're not able to go out the ring when you're in the class, right?
Yeah.
So try and not make the dog so active all the time. Like, help it to relax, sit down, lie down, if you're waiting for your turn. Find shade if you can, and also to teach them a few things that you can do in the ring. Something simple, just spin around or high five or something simple.
Yeah. I do, because I do a bit of agility, we have touch points, and you can just take a round piece of plastic and just play around with it, and that's, touch it, and just play around for a few minutes, when people aren't watching. That seems to make quite a big difference to the dogs, and just helps to diffuse any sort of tension or boredom or, distract them away from sort of any anxiety, I suppose.
And let them be dogs. I mean, I think it's okay for them to be a bit cheeky, even if they're 12 months, 18 months. They can jump and play, because they're gonna have all their life to be steady, to be controlled. So I think you just let them be their character.
Yeah, absolutely. Giovanni, who's come to join you?
The dogs, as you can see, as you can hear, they were in the garden, now they are here.
You're getting fed up. So guys, you're in the modern generation. Hello. So how important do you think social media is in your exhibiting campaign, Giovanni?
I think, well, in exhibiting, they can be helping because you can put your results on the social media and everybody can see it. But I'm grown up with the millennials, so for me social media are quite useful since I was a little teenager. So I like social media. I use social media to post the pictures of my dogs, and sometimes can be helpful because in a period like this one, there are no shows, or if someone for any reason can go out every weekend, can see dogs, and maybe when he can finally go to the show, can put a particular attention in a dog that caught more his eyes on the computer. So I think it can be helpful, but with moderation, not too much, in my opinion. Okay.
Yeah, some people really launch a campaign, don't they?
Yeah, everything. No. A picture, sometimes a picture of a dog, but not every day.
Yeah. No, I think there are some really beneficial things about social media, but sometimes you feel that people promote themselves a bit too much in that way.
Too much, yeah.
And I think it can influence some people as well, so from that point of view, I think it can have its bad times. But Fanny, what do you think? How important is social media in your campaigns?
No, I think it's really interesting. It's sort of a new factor that's been introduced to us with not so much guidance on how to use it in the dog world, so to speak. I think in campaigning for me is not something that I do on social media. I feel I like it, I use it, but I wouldn't say that I campaign my dogs like that. And I think social media is a factor that should or could be more discussed. I would sometimes love the clubs to provide some more guidance. I don't really like the fact that judges can be tagged in a photo, so to speak, so that it appears on their page, and that judges are okay with that. I think it's promoting certain dogs, and I don't think it's fair.
No.
I don't think you should tag judges in photos, but I don't think judges should allow it to happen either. And for me, as a breeder and as a dog enthusiast, as a handler, I think it's good to just try and keep my head cool. A photo is just a photo. And I think you need to travel to see the dogs in order to get an understanding and to have an opinion about them. If you're at the show, you go up and say hello to the owners. You put your hands on the dogs. You ask them to take the dog out for you so that you can make your opinion about this dog. And I would be quite careful with being overly positive or negative about a dog that I see on social media, and I would not be so quick to judge. I definitely don't speak about dogs that have been entered to a show if I weren't there. That's just impossible for me to say anything about if I didn't see what was happening. And to also maybe stand up for people. If you hear things, stand up for what you think and what is right.
Yeah, I think it's quite dangerous. I know a lot of people that have chosen stud dogs and things from photos on social media, and Photoshop, and it's so easy for people to manipulate pictures nowadays. That it's just fraught with danger, isn't it? And as you say, unless you've actually seen something, it is. But it does have its good side, and I think particularly during the pandemic, it's certainly helped to keep so many of us, talking and, sharing pictures from the past and things. Those have been really beneficial elements of it. But
I think if you want to be smart about it, if you want to post something about your dog, I would post a video instead of a photo. It says way much more than a simple photo, to see the dogs animated, to see, their carriage, temperament, maybe movement as well. So
yeah, I notice you do post quite a lot of videos, don't you? Rather than pictures on your Facebook site.
I just feel, for me, it shows so much more than what a photo does. I can't manipulate the video.
No. And
I don't manipulate photos either, but you know what I mean.
But you've got the animation there, and you can see a little bit more about the actual elements of the dogs.
Oh.
So Fanny, do you want to carry on and say, what advice would you give somebody out starting showing today?
Well, a lot of things, but if you can, you find a mentor who is willing to share their experiences with you. I think most of the young people that I know are quite humble and willing to learn. I think they also come with great ideas and sometimes new perspectives, which can also be good. And I mean, the times are constantly changing, like we talked about in the beginning, and speaking about social media. And times are changing, and we have to be willing to change with them as well. I think it's good to surround yourself with people that you trust, who make you feel good about yourself and who make you feel good about your dogs. If someone isn't nice or good to you, you let them go. From my experience, that's you're doing yourself a favor. And learn to appreciate constructive criticism to help you grow, to help you improve. I think it's it's good to read a lot. Anything that you can get your hands on, read it, consume it, and travel if you can. If you have the means, travel to see the dogs. Go to the important shows, go to crafts, go to the World Show if you can, to see and make an opinion for yourself. Have a look at other breeds, like we talked about before. You learn so much from watching not just other gun dogs, but strange breeds that you don't know anything about. And you know, the biggest contrast to a golden retriever that they can be. Stay and watch the finals again. Get an idea of what a great dog can be from a different breed. I think something that has shaped me over the years is when I realized what good sportsmanship means. I realized how good it feels to be congratulated when standing on, you know, the first place, and how really disturbing it could be to be given bad looks or hear things about the judging afterwards, where I was with my dogs. And if you want to be a professional, that's not how you do it. I mean, you swallow that pride, you congratulate the winner because you know how good it feels when it's your turn. And it's sometimes not easy because the judging was completely wrong and my dog should have won and it was political and whatever. But it's really important to practice being a good loser and a good winner. So do it with a bit of dignity if you can. And if you need to swear in the car on the way home, that's the only place to do it, but nowhere else than that.
Do it in private.
Yeah, I mean, at the show, we treat each other with respect and without grudges. And I think you will be so much more respected for it if you sort of adapt that, those abilities. And I think, I was thinking about it before this webinar, I actually think the Golden Retriever community is an incredible place to be. I haven't seen any other breed club doing webinars like this, where people, you know, come to listen to what you have to offer, and we try to learn from each other. And I think wherever I've gone in the world, if it was Asia or Australia or UK, you're always so well treated. I know that there are bad people, of course, in the dog world, but I think it's something to cherish, and I think it's something that we cultivate together. Yeah.
And contribute to that.
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
Spirit, the source of that nice comrademanship.
Yeah, and it's
breeding is difficult, isn't it? And the only people that can really understand and empathize with what you're doing are other breeders.
Yeah, I think it's a very human thing to feel jealous, and we've all felt it, me as well. But I think if you can turn that into something else, you know, if I see someone and I think, I wish I had that, well, copy it. Do it like Giovanni does. If you admire him, then by all means, or even better, go up to him, say hello, tell him you like what he's doing, and ask, maybe you can give me some advice. I'm sure most of us would be so thrilled if someone asked us that, and so happy to help. Yeah,
absolutely. Very wise words, Fanny.
I fully agree about what Fanny said. Fully agree. We couldn't be more clear about it. I think the same. Having a mentor is the first thing to do, because breeding, showing is an art, but there are no school or university where to study and where to learn it. So put yourself in the hand of someone that knows much more than you is the best thing to do. I will be forever grateful for all the person that helped me to be the person I am today. And I want to keep constantly learning from people that know much more than me.
And it can be a very lonely place if you don't have those mentors or those close friends, because certainly in the UK, Fanny, you know, when you are doing well, that's when people start to not talk to you, or to start to criticize your dogs, Giovanni, or you know, and it can be a really lonely place, can't it?
I think
it can be.
It happen also in our country, or anyway in Europe, but you have to keep always a big smile on your face. Is such an important thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep your dignity.
Yeah. No, I think you're totally right. I think we've all had hard times in the dog world. It can be a lonely place, as you say. And I think it's good if you feel that isolated, or that people are not talking to you, or speaking badly behind your back, if you can separate that is mostly about that person, that has it never has anything to do with you and what your performance is like and who you are as a person. It says much more about those people. You have to remind yourself, I think, sometimes.
Yeah,
absolutely. It can be lonely at the top, but you know, there is so much from the golden retriever world. It's such a wonderful place to be. You know, I've met so many people from all walks of life, and had the privilege of visiting places and seeing things that I would never have been privileged to see in any other way. You know, to go into a country and actually speak to the people and see their culture from, you know, when you go on holiday, it's sort of quite artificial, and you know, the world's turned into a McDonald's chip. But when you actually visit, say, Italy or something, and you go down one of those little back streets into a transport cafe and have the most wonderful meal, you know, that they are really special, treasured moments. And you know, our dogs have given us that. And and it is. There's so much to be gained from it, and also the pleasure of seeing the dogs that you've helped to bring into the world, and you know, the pride of showing them and sharing that with other people, as you do at a dog show. You know, it's an amazing thing. So Fanny and Giovanni, thank you so much, both of you, for speaking so candidly today about all your experiences as really exciting, fantastic handlers, and part of the next generation of our golden retriever world. We really appreciate everything that you've shared with us today, and I certainly think that you've got very valued and valuable opinions, and I hope that everybody that's been watching has benefited from your advice and your help that you've offered so freely. So thank you both so very much. And also...
Thank you.
You're welcome.
A big pleasure.
Yeah, and also to Anna and Ricardo, of course, who without their help, none of this would have been able to happen.
Our pleasure. Well, Ricardo has already connected the chat function so that everybody can write down their questions to you all.
Great.
So
let's get going with some questions.
Oh, let me just explain something, because until this moment, people could only write their questions to the moderator. So now when they write their questions, they have to change to everyone, okay? It's just that.
Okay. Oh, hang on, I've lost it. Let me just see. I've clicked on something, the wrong thing. So a question to Fanny. What was your foundation bitch, Fanny?
Well, the bitch that I showed in the presentation, her name was Geomist Serendipity. She goes back on the Erindary lines and a beautiful bitch line of Henrik's. And she's behind most of my dogs today.
That's great, thank you. And the comment is she's a lovely girl.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, okay. Just let me try and sort out my screen. It's gone a bit funny for some reason. Okay, so I'll get the questions back up. So any other questions? Some handlers are paid professionals, and unfortunately sometimes their work is the priority and the dog's character gets squashed by the amount of training and expectations. Goldens become show machines. How important is it for you to let their characters show in the ring? And that's from Martina. Giovanni, any comments?
Well, as we said, keep them naturally, keep them let them what they want to be, okay? Let them free to be themselves.
Yeah, I think we've already spoken quite at length about how important it is to be able to let them show their personality, and how that makes a much better overall picture.
And exactly, then make them like Robo.
Yeah, then make them like Robocop. Yeah. Yeah. Fanny, have you anything to add to that?
No, I agree. Maybe that's a cultural thing, depending on what country you're in. I don't know what country the person is from who's writing, but the Goldens are not show machines. I mean, that doesn't rhyme at all with my picture of how we show a golden retriever. To let their character get squashed is really, I can't see the point of showing dogs like that. I mean, it's my opinion, but that's a bit sad, I think.
Yeah, it doesn't bring out the best of a dog, does it?
No.
And at the end of the day, those dogs get fed up and bored and, you know, resentful of the situation, because they are a living, breathing animal. And we all know that they're, as we've already, both of you have already said about the emotional side of your dogs and the emotional connection. And when you see that in the ring, when you're judging and you see that connection, then the dogs sparkle and they look fantastic. But if you suppress them too much, they'll end up being flat and dull and not enjoying it. Yeah, I think that's important. So from Stuart, I think this may be from Henrik. Glad to listen to two young persons who are so dedicated and will be in the breed for many years ahead, and not only one day flies like many others are and have been.
Thank you. Thank you, and hi.
Hi.
I'm so glad that they're watching.
Yeah, a message from Annie. When you have prepared their coat, how do you keep it looking nice when you are traveling to the show? I use a show coat, but see, this may not be correct.
I can start by answering. I think Giovanni said something which is quite simple, but is often the key, which is drying the coat completely, 100%. And you can check that. Sometimes you think, okay, like I've been going on for half an hour, so I think I'm done now. It looks great. And if you then put your fingers through the coat, sort of going backwards, and then feel if there's anything damp there, then there's still water in the coat. So try and blow it out completely, 100%, and the coat is going to stay like that all the way to the show. And maybe you need some touching up at the show as well.
I have a Mason and Pearson double hairbrush, which is like a paddle. And when I think I've dried the dog, I brush them with that, and then I dry them again, because that brings the moisture up to the surface. And it's, you know, you can often think, oh, I've done that, but actually they're still damp, particularly if they've got a thick coat.
Yeah, and it can take a while, can't it, to get it dry?
I would never dry any of my dogs in half an hour.
No.
At least 1.5 at least.
Yeah, I think so.
When you think they are perfectly dry, again 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Use that as a golden rule.
Yeah.
definitely, definitely. And then on the day of the show, I think, Giovanni, you said about using some balm on the coat. What did you use on the coat?
Some oil, some balsam.
Balsam, yeah, balsam, yeah.
I use it also the day of the show because it gives volume up. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So you rub that through the coat, or do you put any moisture on and a little bit of water spray on the coat?
Spray with the spray, the spray on the coat, and then with the brush in the other side of the coat, and it volume up. Yeah, and if you have a blow dryer, it's better. Otherwise, you go out under the sun for 5 minutes, and it perfectly dry up, and it gives a lot of volume. Yeah, and light.
Yes.
Something else, this wasn't the part of the question, but I just thought of something when we're showing indoors and we've got a bit of slippery floors. What I've sort of learned through the years is, I think the best thing to do is you keep quite a lot of coat under the paw, so between here, and then you just use a spray bottle with water, and you really spray it wet and get your fingers in there so it stays wet, and that will keep them from slipping in the ring.
Yeah, much. Yeah, I use that a lot. So true.
Yeah. If you take too much fur out if you really exercise your dog, you're leaving the paw vulnerable to injury. So I don't take the hair out from in between the toes.
No.
Spit also works. That's terrible. So somebody said, I've always found the way you show your dog so inspiring, Fanny. There we go.
Thank you. That means a lot.
Yeah. From Sam Panzer, thanks, Fanny and Giovanni, for bringing your enthusiasm and good work in this world of dog shows and our wonderful breed.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hazel, thank you for a very interesting chat. Good to hear both Fanny and Giovanni's concerns for their dog's well-being and enjoyment at shows. And Giovanni, your English is excellent. It is.
Thank you.
I agree.
Thanks.
I agree. Giovanni, it's better than my English.
Thanks.
And better than my Italian, and miles better than my Swedish. It's very interesting to see that the Golden Retriever world in many countries have a new generation of breeders coming up, which is not very usual in all breeds. So I think that's, again, maybe from Henrik or Sjord. But in the UK, we're really struggling for young people to, I think they're coming in and showing, but they're not necessarily coming in and taking an active part in like show management or the management of clubs. We've been really struggling to recruit new members, and we would really, like you say, Fanny, some younger people with some newer, fresher ideas would be really good. But I guess it's difficult when you have so many pressures, So from Miriam, thank you for another interesting webinar. I'd like to thank both Fanny and Giovanni. How do they choose a puppy as a future show dog? I mean, do they look particularly at movement or temperament or head carriage or what? I'd also like to ask which is, in their opinion, the best quality and worst fault for a show dog to be competitive. So there's two things. So Giovanni, how do you choose your puppies?
Normally I'm looking at them all together, and quite often my eyes felt always in a puppy, and I trust a lot in that, because that means that puppy has something that capture my eyes, and possibly in the future have something that capture the eyes also of other people. So I really trust in it. And then I put them in the table when they are 6 weeks. I start putting them at 6 weeks. I love to see them in the garden, in the movement, and the attitude. The attitude has to be very important, but it is connected with the first thing I say. when your eyes always felt on a puppy, that means that he has also that kind of attitude that bring, look at me, and that can happen also in the ring when it will be an adult.
Yeah. Very good, Giovanni. Fanny, how do you choose your puppies?
Yeah, I think it's a good answer. And it's interesting, that thing about there's usually one puppy that you just can't take your eyes off, or they catch your attention every time you walk into the room. And it's just something that they have, whether it's carriage or charisma or the X factor. There's just something.
Yeah.
And putting them on the table, I mean, breed essentials have to come first. Of course, I'm choosing a puppy for my future breeding. So the show dog is sort of not my first priority. But I think when you're looking for breed essentials, you're looking for a temperament that is typical for a golden retriever. And that temperament is usually a wonderful show dog as well, with a wagging tail and someone who's easy to work with. So it sort of goes hand in hand, I think. But it's hard to choose puppies, and it's a lovely thing to do. It's very good to do it with, I always invite other breeders to look at my puppies to give me a clear perspective, so that I don't, you so easily get a bit kennel blind, I think.
Yeah. And I mean, I think the next bit of a question, which is also I'd ask, which in their opinion is the best quality and the worst fault for a show dog to be competitive. And I would say that that's personality and temperament. If you've got it, fantastic. If you haven't, it's the worst thing in the world. I don't know what you two think.
Absolutely.
It can really spoil a fantastic dog.
Yeah.
If they don't want to show themselves.
Yeah. Giovanni, anything to add to that? No. Petra, thank you for your time. It's been really good talk. Love for all at Gilbran, and Jilly remembers all those lovely days she spent in Italy with you. I think that's at you, Giovanni.
Sorry?
I think that comment was for you. Thank you for your time. It's been really good talk. Lovely from all at Gilbran.
Oh, thank you.
They remember the lovely days she spent in Italy with you.
Yeah, we had a lovely time.
Yeah.
Hi, Jilly.
Interesting. Listen again. Thank you. Thank you for an interesting webinar, Fanny and Giovanni. And Ingrid, do you think that there will be any changes when the shows start again after the pandemic? Will the number of entries be huge or quite normal? Have you changed your breeding plans during lockdown?
I think that entries will improve, in my opinion. Yes, because people now want freedom and want to go out, and so if before they were undecided if go to a show or another one, because we had very much in Italy, we had a show every weekend probably, and the entry were quite low in the last few years. Probably after the pandemic, in my opinion, the entries will grow up.
Yeah.
Well, about the changing, yes, because if you can't travel, you have to trust in chilled semen, and chilled semen not very often works. So if you have to travel when we were in a full lockdown, yeah, we had to change our plan, or just postpone it to the next season, hopefully that we will be freedom again. Yeah.
Fanny, anything from you?
Hi Ingrid. I mean, I think I suspect that it's going to be a big entry when the pandemic is over and the shows go back to normal with like unrestricted amount of people. I think people are so excited to go back to showing. I think people have a lot of dogs that we haven't seen now that are just sitting at home, puppies and young dogs, hopefully young promises. So I think I think it should be a bang when we come back. And same thing for us. We've had a few changes in breeding plans. One bitch I was really hoping to show last year, and we decided to breed from her instead. There's just no point in waiting. It's been difficult because we can't travel. The thing we could do was travel to Norway, meet on the border for a mating. So that worked. So some combinations we've just had to postpone because I haven't had really good experiences with using frozen semen. I haven't been very successful, so that's not something that I was very keen to do. So yeah, it's just threw everything a little bit up and down.
Yeah, definitely. From Shamrock, thank you. It's great to listen. Really interesting webinar. From Kennels. In the past, I showed, and I was not amused by the way those experienced handlers and breeders showed themselves in the ring. Do you experience the same in your country? It can really wear you off in the showing world. How is your experience from the start? I think there will always be a bit of gaming, won't there? You know, somebody wants to get in front of you or trip you up, if you like. But you have to find ways of dealing with it, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. And I agree. I mean, we've all experienced it, haven't we? We know of those people and those times when it's happened, when you don't really appreciate, if I get the question right, the people that took the attention in that way.
Yeah.
But I don't know, it can wear you off, but you have to stay true to yourself, do it the way that you believe in. If someone is bothering you in the ring, that's when you need to tell them to please don't. If they're running up too close to your dog, you politely tell them to keep a distance.
Absolutely.
Especially if you have a young dog that's not sort of used to the ring situation yet. So really believe in yourself and take your place those couple of minutes when you're in the ring, and really respect your place there.
Yeah. Anything to add, Giovanni?
Yeah, it's a fact of respect, exactly. If someone is too close to you, or just staying in a polite way. But I think that we are motivated by our passion, and it can't be stopped by someone, silly person in the ring. Absolutely. Yeah. Our passion is bigger than that, so keep on.
Yeah, and if somebody has a problem themselves, then it's not your problem, is it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's not your problem, so
push it back. Like
exactly, and walk on.
Yeah, absolutely. So from Mikhail, thank you both for your informative webinar. Why do you think that Goldens don't do so well in groups in some countries? Any thoughts on that, Giovanni?
Maybe for the movement. Sometimes there are breeds in the group that move better than some golden retriever that won the best breed, or because they are some judge. It depends on the judge that breeds the group.
Yeah.
Basically, because if a judge didn't know so well the golden retriever, it is not so easy to get placed, and not so much all-rounder judge breed golden retriever, so it is quite difficult to find a breeder at the group.
Yeah.
And that will make the difference, in my opinion.
And it's a difficult group, isn't it, the gun dog group?
It is, because there are a lot of great movers. Yes. So it's that click that makes the difference.
Yeah, definitely, Giovanni. Yeah. Fanny, anything to add for that?
No, I mean, it's a very good question and a very hard one. It might be several answers. I mean, in Sweden, for example, if you take the flat coats, the flat-coated retriever, it's got a much more consistent quality throughout the breed. It's higher and it's more consistent than the golden retriever. The golden retriever is much more mixed in terms of quality. Campaigning a golden retriever in Sweden can be quite hard because it's hard to get the dog through to the group, and golden retrievers don't do as well in the group as many other breeds. And yeah, it's hard to answer why that is. I mean, during my time in Australia, that sort of made me conscious about how we're doing things here as well. Because there I found it to be on a much more professional level. The dogs, they moved and they were not lacking in breed type. But the movement was better generally than back home, back in Sweden. And so whether it's that combination of things, hard to answer.
Yeah, and I think Giovanni in some ways is right, that they're not always in the eye of the group judges who, they are quite a sort of a special breed, I think, and it's trying to get them to sparkle against something that might be, like an American cocker or something, or a flat coat.
Yeah, exactly, a flat coat.
Exactly. Yeah. The Golden Retriever is not a flashy breed, so to speak. So it is quite hard to, speaking of the generic show dog, it's quite hard to compete at that level.
So from Angie Cooper, once again, Midland Golden, thank you to Fanny and Gio for giving us their time.
Hi, Angie.
From Cindy, this is the question for both speakers. I found that different food products vary different results in body condition, coat condition, etc. What food supplements, etc. have you found work best for your dogs? I personally don't use any supplements, but I make sure that I feed my dogs a very good quality food. I don't know what you guys think. Giovanni?
I do not use any supplements, but I fed my dog raw. I am particularly lucky because my father is a butcher, so I perfectly know where the meat comes from.
Yeah.
So I fed them with barf diet, all raw, since they are puppies, and I can see the difference.
Yeah. Fanny, how do you feed your dog?
Yeah, I don't use supplements either, but I use a high quality sort of complete food. So I think it's a good investment if you want to bring out the best in the dogs. I don't have experience from barf or raw foods, but sounds really interesting.
Yeah, I've tried both ways of feeding, and you've got to be quite organised, I think, with the barf diet. And I haven't actually found the dogs were in any better condition than the way that I feed them now. But, things like fish and things, oily fish, and I find that the dog's coats really do benefit with that, So from Lindsay, thank you to both contributors. It's been wonderful to listen to all they both had to say. Thank you also to Midland for another excellent afternoon. It was great to hear the tip on goat's milk. I have one that doesn't drink a lot at shows. We have heat reflective crate covers here that keep our dogs really cool, even though our summers aren't as hot as yours.
Mixed with water, not only goat milk, otherwise for the tummy is not good. Just a bit of goat milk and water, and they love it.
Yeah, sort of 50-50, would you say?
Yeah, 50-50. Or no, less than 50 goat milk.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Just a little bit.
I feed my puppies goat's milk and they always love it.
Yeah, they love it.
Yeah, and actually don't have any trouble with their stomachs with goat's milk. I wouldn't give a dog cow's milk, but they're great on that. Thank you to all three for this interesting webinar. Once again, thanks for the talk, very interesting, very inspiring, both speakers. Thank you so much. I cannot wait to go to a show again. My youngest girl seems to go into a lovely show career. She's been successful as a minor puppy and was qualified for Crufts 21, but since there have not been any shows and ringcraft, she is way in open when we are starting again. Now then, I try to train her. She does not seem to like it anymore. Should I start training again, like when she was a puppy, from the basics? What do you think, Fanny?
It's a good question. I mean, it would be lovely to meet you and your bitch to just get the right idea of what it is that she doesn't like. If she's not excited anymore, if she drops a tail, sort of bored. So try a few different things. Maybe not train so much. Maybe leave her for a while and only do fun things. Try and be aware of your own body language. If you are tensing up or losing your natural voice when you are training. I had a bitch once she was very showy, but she got very focused on me when I was, had treats in my hands and everything. So she dropped her tail, which they sometimes do, when they just naturally look at something, they drop their tail just because they're focused on something. And so what I had to do, I sort of had to reverse my training and be completely passive, not do anything. I just had my hands in the pockets. I had treats waiting, but I didn't do anything, didn't tell her anything. And she stood there, tail down, and then she got a bit impatient. And she was just like, come on, do something. And she started to sort of move around a bit, tail got wagging again, and she barked at me, do something. And that's how I got her to sort of
be animated. Yeah.
So if you can figure out what is it about your bitch that she doesn't like it anymore, and try and approach it from the right angle.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, and I think teasing dogs can sometimes, rather than giving in to them, tease them. That makes a big difference too, So Karen, thank you for Fanny and Giovanni for this interesting webinar, and also thank you to Penny and the Midland Golden. Stay safe and healthy. Thanks for an interesting webinar again. Take care and hope to meet you again at shows. Very interesting webinar. Thanks to Fanny and Giovanni for taking your time to share your experiences. Emma, thanks to Fanny and Gio. Very interesting tips. Look forward to seeing you again. And thanks to Midland Golden. And then to everyone, thank you, Fanny and Giovanni, for this chat. It was great to listen, and thanks to Midland Golden for this another great chat. It was really interesting. Regards from Iceland.
Hi, wow. Hi.
Cindy, thank you for another wonderful webinar. And I think that takes us to the end of our talk this evening. It is the evening now.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, everybody, for all your questions and comments at the end. It's really nice to know that you've enjoyed the talk and that you've got a lot out of it. And thank you once again to Fanny and Gio for sharing their wealth of knowledge on handling. And it is really so important. You can have a lovely dog, and if you don't bring the best out of them, they can really fail in the ring. And it is such a shame. And I think listening today, some of the biggest things are make it fun, get the dog to actually enjoy it and engage it, and for you to have fun as well. And, it is what it is. You need friends around you. And just learning about the breed, and you never stop learning. I've been doing it for getting on for 40 years, and you never stop learning, so, but it's the most wonderful sport or hobby or whatever. And it has brought us together from all around the world, comments from Iceland and everywhere. So that's fine. So yeah, thank you. And thank you again, Anna and Ricardo, for all your support and help with our tea time chats. And we've got our talk next week about breeding. So for any of you that haven't already booked in, there are a few places left, but not many. So do email us if you are interested. And we've got a whole programme of future events still planned. Now, obviously, when we get back to the show world, I don't know whether we'll continue in the same format, but we're a little way off in the UK at the moment. So I hope that you'll continue to join us and enjoy the online events, So.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you, Penny. It's been such a lovely conversation, and there's so much to talk about. And thank you, Anna and Ricardo, for being so ambitious and for giving this to all of us, especially this year. It's been very important. And thanks, Giovanni. It's been such a pleasure listening to your thoughts and ideas as well.
Yeah.
Very generous.
Thank you too much to you all. Heartfelt thanks, and can't wait to see you all again, hopefully soon, and can give you a big hug.
Yeah, definitely, Giovanni. Yeah, it's been a wonderful afternoon. You take care.
Yeah, it has been beautiful.
Yeah. Bye bye now. Bye bye.
Bye. Thank you so much. Bye.
You're welcome.
Bye.